Part 281. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2813. The demon hunter Captain Jia Yan wants to prevent the war from destroying the planet. It's a pity that wishful thinking is useless. It would be better if both black and white people agree with this. Is it possible for the white gods to be willing to give up this important planet area in the northwest? Put yourself in his shoes. If the person who controls the star is not Jia Yan, but someone from the Baishan family, will he be willing to give up this place? Impossible. So he could only think of a way to use his own power to prevent the star from being destroyed in the upcoming battle between gods. Yes, what I'm talking about here is the power of the clone. In fact, just like the clones of Taoist priests and the clones of beggars, their clones and the so-called black god clones seem to have priority, but in fact they are just the same clone. Which clone does Jia Yan focus on? That clone is the boss, so it is normal for the secondary clones who have developed some self-awareness to have some opinions with the black god clone. He wants to save the star, just like the two clones want to help his disciples. The black god clone will not agree. If he wants to do it, he can only do it by himself. But I can't do it. Conspiracy and tricks are useless in the face of absolute strength. As one of the clones of the giant mosquito, he has the deepest understanding of the difference in strength. Above the stars, two figures gathered here. So, there is a powerful black god type person on that planet, maybe someone with a god level. Those who speak with overwhelming momentum are as cold as ice. I think there is a probability, but I can't guarantee whether it is true or not. The man kneeling on the starry sky was the white god intelligence expert who had previously used the teleportation formation to leave the planet. I understand, please step back first. Yes. Without any hesitation, the white god-type man cast the magic of the six-pointed star, and his whole body disappeared in front of this otherworldly man. God level? Huh, I think this is another Jia Yan's clone trick. Behind the man, there was a faint voice, and a white shadow appeared faintly in the depths of the starry sky. Don't jump to conclusions if you have nothing to back up. Besides, so what, can you guarantee that Jia Yan didn't arrange a backup plan? If we go down and fight with his clone, his real body will definitely not come. Are you so sure? Isn't his clone a trap? The figure in the starry sky immediately restrained his angry words and became silent. Both parties were just acting on the occasion, and they didn't really have any old friendship with the white fox creature. Moreover, if the white fox creature left the outside world, there was no real death. Maybe after he went out, he could enjoy the benefits of his real body and continue to practice. What a good thing. Therefore, they will not have any revenge because Jia Yan's clone killed an unfamiliar colleague. On the contrary, even though they had analyzed that the person who killed their colleague should be the clone of Jia Yan, they still maintain the good mentality that silence is golden. Jia Yan has been making frequent moves in various places recently. He not only killed several invincible realms, but also killed the female white god level master long ago. They said there was no evidence, but everyone knew in their hearts. Jia Yan's clone cannot escape involvement in this matter. Without evidence, it cannot happen, and the Black God sect is not an ordinary force. Even if they, the White God sect, have evidence, they may not be able to decide whether to go to war with the Black God sect. Today, the matter has been delayed until now. Everyone knows that Jia Yan is using his clone to stir up trouble again, but the two masters here are undecided. Killing the clone is easier said than done. If you kill him, what happens next? Will Jia Yan's real body be furious? And if Jia Yan really arranged a backup plan, such as lurking several gods here to ambush, wouldn't they be doomed? After thinking about it, time passed by in such a blink of an eye. The anticlimactic war zone soon turned to an eerie calm. Call. In the office of the Demon Hunting Brigade, Jia Yan, who was meditating, suddenly opened his eyes, breathed out a sigh of relief, and felt refreshed. The injury has almost been repaired, but the energy loss of this clone is too great, making it impossible to fight again. How to decide next depends on that side. The young man Jia Yan raised his head and cast his gaze in the direction of the Xinchen star where the Black Temple was located. Each avatar has the same intelligence and judgment. It is still difficult to coordinate. It depends on how I do it. The direction of the Black God system. Young Jia Yan sat in the center of the Black Temple, supporting his chin with one hand and looking at Adisha strolling below. Adisha, just say what you want to say and don't dangle it in front of me. Aditha remained calm, stopped moving her little feet, opened her big, pitiful eyes, and looked at Jia Yan. Master, where did you place the first battlefield? Adisha wants to know. Jia Yan was a little surprised. Because there had been many incidents in the past where Adisha, the intellectual brain, decided to intervene in Jia Yan's future affairs, which led to Jia Yan having the idea of being controlled by Adisha. After that, he deliberately reduced the possibility of being influenced by Adisha. Maybe Adisha knows something too. Therefore, Adisha rarely makes requests and rarely cares about Jia Yan's decisions. Although Adisha has made great contributions to this world, all her contributions are carried out under the overall planning of Jia Yan, and I rarely ask Jia Yan about his future decisions. I didn't expect that she would ask about the location of the God War today. But Jia Yan looked at her pink and jade face, smiled and nodded. You want to know whether my decision is because of my curiosity or because I care about something. Adisha doesn't know. Adisha can't let go. Is this a mentality that normal people have? Yes, normal people will be like this. This is called hesitation and worrying about gains and losses. Adisha knows, after being hesitant and worrying about gains and losses, there is a word called take one step at a time, take it one step at a time, he. Adisha covered her mouth and tried to be smart. Jia Yan's smile became more obvious, and he came to Adisha's side in a blink of an eye and stroked her little head. Adisha burst out laughing happily, and the whole hall was filled with laughter. You little clever guy. Jia Yan whirled, and Adisha half closed her eyes and muttered as if she was enjoying herself, Adisha doesn't dislike this very much. Master, is this another human emotion? Yes, well, the master replied to your words. I have made up my mind as to where the divine war will begin first. However, the battlefield is changing rapidly. You can't guess what the white dolphin is thinking, right? So this matter is one-sided. Decision is not enough, the enemy will not cooperate with you. In the future, when you go out of this world, you will face opponents that you cannot clearly calculate, so you must also develop the ability to adapt to changes, understand? Oh, Adisha understands. Adisha nodded vigorously with a sweet voice, pursed her small mouth, and opened the space crack. Then Adisha goes back to the planet and helps the master share the worries. Be careful, maybe people from the White God department have noticed your actions. Okay, Adisha told Jia Lin to be careful. All the spiritual weapons can be sold in a few days. The little guy innocently climbed into the slightly higher crack, waved his little hand, and the crack closed directly. The main hall, which had been so noisy just now because of the little kid, became silent and empty again. Jia Yan smiled lightly and took another step forward, sitting back on the throne in the top hall. I can enjoy a little bit of the loneliness of human emperors, and I think I have a better understanding of some emotions. It's a pity that the end of the strong is likely to be accompanied by this kind of loneliness forever. I don't know whether it is a good thing or a bad thing. Saying goodbye to the smart little one, Jia Yan waved with one hand, supported his chin with the other hand, and looked calmly at the holographic screen of the brain emerging in the air. There are a large number of intricate maps, battle lines, black and white points of the enemy and the strong, as well as endless criss-crossing map supplements, etc. The intelligence on a battlefield is enough to give the top generals a splitting headache, and the brain map that controls the entire battle situation is even more dazzling. However, Jia Yan did not show any impatience, but read the contents on the map with relish. Edisha said to take it one step at a time. This is an approach without seeking improvement. She still doesn't understand the strong. A strong person without seeking improvement is unqualified. Waiting and watching for changes is a safe approach, but when the enemy is targeting you everywhere and you don't have any foreign aid, inaction is the biggest mistake. So, she still doesn't understand human nature and life. Jia Yan was not in a hurry, let alone panic. He knows that good things come only in time. You have already wasted a lot of time in this world, and you don't care if you wait a little longer. For some things, the more you pay, the more delicious food you will enjoy when you reap. White Dolphin, I'm sorry that you want to hunt me, but why don't I regard you as my prey? Once the starry sky beast launches an offensive, it will be quite terrifying. Jia Yan's steps never stopped for a moment because of some event. He seemed to be hindered a little in this part of the world, but he didn't take it seriously. Instead, he regarded his trip around the world as a dinner, a small sacrifice in advance. And his delicacy, or prey, was the white dolphin that regarded Jia Yan as its prey. At the beginning, Jia Yan was a little aggrieved, but when he thought about things on the bright side, and even exchanged offense and defense, he suddenly became calm. So what you think about how you behave and do things is extremely important. If you think about everything in a negative direction, you will only be filled with negative energy in your body and mind, and you will soon be exhausted. And if you think about the bad things in a positive way, what you will gain will be a sudden enlightenment and a good mood. Then what do I mean? Jia Yan found several places among the dazzling massive lines of black and white light spots. These places are the front lines, and they are extremely anxious. It is not surprising that a divine war breaks out anytime and anywhere. The process of all events seems illogical and chaotic, but they are all moving unswervingly in this general direction. People just follow the general trend. The white dolphin thinks that he can decide when to fight. Unfortunately, he can't follow his wishes. This time I will kill you again. Let's see how you react. Jia Yan was right. On the other side of the white dolphin, they have been in a state of distress due to another God's Fall incident that broke out on the border recently. No one is feeling regretful and heartbroken, because the strong man who dies will return to his true form in the outside world. There is no such thing as death in this world. This group of white gods are restless. Although he has extremely strong confidence in their overwhelming strength, he is in a state where the black gods have been attacking frequently recently, causing the white gods to lose two of their main forces, but he has no way to counterattack and is unable to do anything. Let them feel a little dissatisfied. In fact, it is not difficult to imagine. As strong men, they have experienced too many things, and there will be clues before they fail many times. For example, now, looking at their obvious strength, the Black God department is completely out of proportion. But why are all the high-ranking people on my side dead? Not only the high-level ones, but also the middle and low-level powerhouses. Statistics show that the White God system suffered more casualties. This has to raise a question that hits their souls: who will win and who loses as a result of this battle? Don't have such a huge advantage and be overturned by the Black Gods. Don't worry, we still have a huge advantage. Being in disarray gives Jia Yan and his group an opportunity. The white dolphin sits high on the sacred chair, its eyes neither sad nor happy. He had a clear view of everyone's expressions, but there was no good solution. Concubine Kun, who is beside the white dolphin, is looking for a book. There is a slight worry on her beautiful face. At first glance, she is no different from the subordinates who are worried about the disadvantages of their own war. What she thinks in her heart, only she knows. Sir, we are not trying to make others' ambitions destroy our own prestige, but recently our forces have been losing ground frequently at the top, and there are already 3 dead and wounded god-level beings, but we have no counter-attack plan. As a result, even if you seize the opportunity, you may encounter a huge Waterloo. The old man, who looked like a candle in the wind, walked out of the front position where he was standing and said respectfully, "I understand what you mean. Don't you just blame me for being a coward to Jia Yan several times." The white dolphin smiled sarcastically. There was a sudden silence below. Yes, they seemed to be discussing matters, but their central idea was to force the white dolphin to fight back against Jia Yan's killing of another white god. "It's not that I feel cowardly or anything, but that if I don't fight back, it just means that the dolphin is indeed too cowardly to be bullied. Could it be that the young master is still thinking about the timing of taking action? Being so indecisive is a bad idea. It is difficult for subordinates to get a good end if they follow a master who has no temper and acts too forward-thinking." Forced into the palace. If you don't force the palace, this power will be over. These inner fluctuations are exactly the inner thoughts of the white gods. This matter. White Dolphin rubbed his forehead and was about to say some sweet words to appease his subordinates. The venerable old man seemed to have guessed his intention. He raised his head directly and said with stern eyes, "Young master, please make a decision." He looked directly at the white dolphin, his eyes changed from his usual kind-hearted look, and his eyes showed firmness. "There was no update yesterday. There will be another update after 12 o'clock today, which can be regarded as making up for the chapters that were not updated yesterday." Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2814. The white dolphin fell silent for a moment. The old minister in front of him is not a villain, but someone who is on his side. They had talked for a long time in the secret room, and the white dolphin understood how loyal he was. "Do you want to force even the old minister to go to the palace?" Their eyes met, and after a long time, he understood what the veteran meant. The old minister may have guessed that he has a backup plan, but it is not enough. Even if there are backup preparations, if this wave of people's hearts are lost, it will be difficult to get them back, and there will be nothing to look forward to in the future. Well. The white dolphin sighed heavily. Obviously now is not the most appropriate opportunity to start a battle between gods. But things can't be perfect. Even if he fails to do his best, the chess pieces in his hand are enough to checkmate the black god system and Jia Yan's side. So. Okay, then let it be as you wish. It doesn't matter if this battle starts, it's better to start it early and end it early, so as not to arouse people's anxiety. After the meeting, the white dolphin strode into the back of the palace. Behind him was an extremely beautiful woman. "Kun, what do you want to ask?" The white dolphin suddenly stopped and looked back at her with a half-smile. Concubine Kun had no expression on her face and said calmly, "I also want to ask you this question." "What do you want to ask?" The two people's eyes collided in the air. For a moment, the white dolphin withdrew its gaze and looked at the white scene in the distance, which seemed to be both illusion and reality, vast and vast. "Actually, I once really thought that after the things here are over, I will take you to an inaccessible place and live the life of an ordinary life form. We can even create a world ourselves and become the leader of that world. Eternal gods, they can also be considered as a couple of gods and immortals." Concubine Kun looked calmly and said slowly, "What exactly is the so-called god? Do you understand? Also, your subordinates will not agree with your idea." "God." White Dolphin chewed on this term, thought for a moment, and decided to go around it and start the conversation from the next core content. "Yes, my subordinates will not agree. What's more, even if they agree, someone will not agree. I know it very well." White Dolphin smiled self-deprecatingly and inadvertently glanced at Concubine Kun standing next to her. Concubine Kun's complexion changed again and again, and then she showed a slight smile. By, you don't understand. I have experienced too much, whether it is emotional or trivial matters. I understand what you are saying. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. I will be your strongest backing. Okay, no need to say anything, I understand what you mean, go back. The white dolphin showed a little smile again. This smile was uglier than crying. The two walked gracefully, both good-looking and extraordinary, like a true couple of gods and immortals. Unfortunately, they are just different bedfellows. The conversation between the two and the changes in their feelings are just trivial matters, at least not important matters that can change the general direction now. The important thing about the White God Department lies in the content of the meeting they just held. Under the public support, the leader of the White God Department, who was originally not so radical, decided to finally start a peak battle with the Black God Department. Everyone knows the outcome of this war. That was the beginning of the so-called final divine battle, which would last until one person from both sides fell forever. Of course, in the final chat between White Dolphin and Concubine Kun, the god issue that had no answer was actually also bothering others in other places. For example, Jia Yan's subordinates who were brought in from outside. Lord Tiger God, your recent actions have been too wanton and reckless. It is quite difficult for us personal guards to get things done. Several life forms with the heads of tigers and leopards were exhorting helplessly under the throne of a giant black tiger. The black giant tiger stretched out its sharp claws in dissatisfaction, picked at the big plush ears and said, "Nonsense, why do you think I am so reckless? You can tell me why." "Sir, these words are a bit hurtful. Have you forgotten your recent behavior?" The giant black tiger paused and pretended not to understand. "What kind of behavior? I don't know what I did. I've been very busy with work recently." "Well, those women from the big cat families who got pregnant because of you are still protesting outside our temple." "What you said?" The giant black tiger finally felt a little embarrassed. But asking himself, he didn't feel like he had done anything wrong. "Have you asked me clearly? This is not my problem. These beautiful ladies threw themselves into my arms. What's more, I have also promised to take good care of them for the rest of their lives and bring great benefits to their family. This is also there's something wrong." Yes, this god doesn't seem to have made a mistake in a moment of confusion, but he still doesn't think he made a mistake until now. Among the subordinates, there was a tiger-headed creature that was very similar to a black giant tiger. He walked out and came closer. He shouted loudly, "Brother, what you said is wrong. Although our divine guards can do something, or leave some seeds, but you are a god, the famous black tiger god of war, how can you do this? If your noble bloodline is really left behind by those vulgar people, wouldn't it taint your bloodline? This subordinate black tiger is a relative of young Master Tiger in this world. Because of his blood relationship and his talent, he has been trained by Master Tiger himself. Unexpectedly, he now has a headache. This is a way to cultivate a mother-in-law for yourself, who has to take care of everything." Young Master Hu said calmly, "How do you know that I don't like someone to inherit my bloodline?" "Ah!" The subordinates were dumbfounded, and a group of tigers and leopards below them all looked dumbfounded. "You are a god. Isn't the blood of a god extremely noble? Why don't you care? Speaking of which, you guys are too crazy. It's true that I am a god, but before that, I was also an ordinary tiger creature. Have you ever seen any tiger man who doesn't like girls?" No, the subordinate of the black tiger thought about it. He wanted to say that he was not that kind of person, but when he thought about his aunt in the 21st room of his hometown, he couldn't say it. He had to admit that the tiger clan was always merciful like this. Race. But you are a god. Young Master Hu, that is, Jia Yan's old territory lord-level subordinate creature outside the galaxy, is also the backbone of the battle against the White Dolphin forces. It's just that in this world, He is known as the Black Tiger God of War and is sung by countless people. He has been truly deified. It's a pity that the people don't know that this young tiger is so merciful, otherwise they might not love him to this level. God. Young Master Who was also a little emotional. The so-called God is not what you think. In other words, even I don't know what the so-called God is. Everyone below was so silent that they couldn't understand. What is a true God? What is the so-called God? Aren't you gods? Why are you saying these things? It's like there are no gods in the black god system. Don't be so scary, okay? However, Mr. Who's words were only spoken out of emotion. After a moment, he calmed down and no longer expressed any opinions on the matter. No matter how you look at least in the eyes of the indigenous people of this world, they are indeed gods. For one day in office, one must be a good god, otherwise it will be a small loss of face and a big destruction of the plan. Okay, you don't have to worry about me, I will take care of this myself. Yes, I will no longer care about your family affairs. Haihu and other subordinates expressed their opinions one after another. They knew that it was absolutely impossible for Lord Tiger God to change, so they didn't care so much, as long as they didn't affect Lord Tiger God's prestige. Anyway, there are so many feline girls in this world, no matter how hard the Tiger God manages to deal with them, it's impossible to deal with them all. Little did they know that this Lord Tiger God actually accomplished all the things that could not be done outside in the young body of this world. This can be considered a dream come true. Men, no matter how old they are or what race they are, as long as they are smart, they all think about this kind of thing. No way, who made them men? But, it seems like someone said something bad about me just now, and you said I can't do it? What's wrong with me? Where are the 10 girls from Yayu? You said I can't do it? No. No, my lord, I didn't say you couldn't do it. Who said that? I seem to have vaguely heard it just now. Young Master who was extremely sensitive, flew into a rage when he left the scene. Who made someone write about this just now and laugh out loud? It's so suspenseful, our god's perspective was almost discovered, he is worthy of being a god. The young tiger at this end, the black tiger god of war, has returned to the peaceful life of a god. It's a pity that the tree wants to be quiet but the wind doesn't stop. When the black and white people are anxious about the protracted front line and cannot fight for a long time, countless people in the rear mistakenly believe that this kind of war will continue for a long time. They can gradually return to peaceful daily life and even forget that there is such a thing as a front line. A change occurred. Report. Lord God of War, on the edge of the battle line where we are, there are invincible masters who have fallen. What? On this day, young Master who was still thinking about the gentle village last night, heard the information from his subordinates in a daze, and he jumped up from his godly position. His eyes are about to burst. A very sensational term popped into my mind, the God of War will begin. Good. The invincible realm seems to be much weaker than the god-level combat power. However, they are indeed at the top of the pyramid. Before outsiders from the black and white systems entered this world, they were the ones who reached the top. Otherwise, they would not dare to use the word invincible as a rank title. As for the white gods, there are still more invincibles, but as for the black gods, there are very few invincibles, and their numbers are almost comparable to those of foreign gods like them. If any one of them is missing, it will be a serious matter. Tell me, who died? How did he die? Young Master who was so anxious that he came to the soldier who reported the information in a blink of an eye and caught him unexpectedly in his hands. His eyes radiated the sharp brilliance unique to ferocious beasts. Ahem, Hui Bingshen, the one who died was the invincible man. My God personally commended him for his infinite strength. The one who killed him, was the white god. After hearing what he said, Young Master Hu felt as if he had been struck by lightning. He let go and let the soldier fall freely, taking half a step back. Several senior executives who followed closely behind the messenger also took a breath. Don't blame young Master Hu for being so out of sorts. Because of this powerful invincibility, in the few invincible areas in the area where Tiger Master is in charge, he is not only powerful, but also extremely popular and prestigious, and is loved by his subordinate soldiers and people. It had only been a few days since he had been commended, and it was gone as soon as people said no. Oh, my head is getting big now. Young Master Hu was suffering from a splitting headache. It's not that he had an irreversible relationship with the dead invincible. To this group of outside masters, most people and things in this world are just a passing moment. Even if the powerful invincible had a drink with him and had a romantic chat with him, it would be like that. That's all. What's more important is that the two important people who died in our party, the two underworld gods Edisha and Jiuli, can find a way to resurrect them in the underworld. The worst thing is to find some wine that can be drunk by the underworld souls next time and run to the underworld. Find this person's soul and continue drinking. Cough. Too much to say. Anyway, young Master Hu is troubled by the fact that this matter is difficult to deal with, and it may be the cause of the war. The death of an invincible state is not the invincible state that borrowed from Wu Ming. Due to circumstances and reasons, he, the leader of the front, must come forward. In the first battle, what do you want to do with me? Well, I'm afraid they don't know who is here yet, so let's do it. Young Master Tiger in this world. Different from the arrogant old domain lord in the outside world, he is completely full of vigor and vitality, which is completely consistent with the age of his clone in this world. Follow me and go to the front line to take a look. By the way, leave someone else behind to send a message to the Black Temple. Report it truthfully without hiding anything. Do you understand? Understood. I would like to send you to your majesty. There are those who take the initiative to stay behind, clasping their fists and bowing. Young Master Hu nodded and walked out with his head held high. The troops were quickly rounded up, with more than 1,000 people in total, and all of these more than 1,000 people were the strongest. After all, they had to follow the gods to fight in person, so how could they send out the weak? The drizzle of light rain is dripping on the Xinchen star on the side of the Black Temple. Jia Yan finished processing the countless information at hand, looked at the dark cloud-covered sky, and stretched to his heart's content. This planet seems to like raining, but I don't know how to deal with it. I like rainy days. Jia Yan smiled suddenly and was about to get up and stretch his muscles. He saw his ears and eyes twitching slightly, his expression became serious, and he quickly sat back on the chair again, as if waiting for something. Sure enough, not long after he sat down and straightened his face, a correspondent rushed upstairs as fast as he could. Oh my God! It's not good. This kind of divine servant usually won't lose his mind. After all, he has to choose from thousands of people to serve in front of Jia Yan, the Black God. However, at this time, he was unusually out of breath, and there was a slight look of fear on his face. Jia Yan's expression became more solemn, but his tone was calm, and he asked calmly, no matter what you do, you are not allowed to lose your sense of proportion, jump around, and behave appropriately. Ah, yes, I lost my composure, but this information is really, really urgent. Please let me take a look at it. Jia Yan took the information and after reading the first line of words above, his eyebrows couldn't help but jump. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2815. The information in Jia Yan's hands naturally came from Master Hu. The white dolphins are taking action. Even Jia Yan can't calm down about such a big event. White Dolphin himself is headstrong. Even if I kill his subordinates, he will probably have other ideas, but the people around him will urge him to do something to me. As an opponent of almost the same level, even if the contact time is not too much, the basic information is still mastered. As for other things, such as the relationship between White Dolphin and his subordinates, as well as his many hidden difficulties, Jia Yan knew it very well after having been in contact with him several times. It was like the roundworm in the other person's belly understood him very well. Otherwise, your enemy is the one who knows you best. Jia Yan directly guessed that the matter should not be the White Dolphin's impulsive counterattack against the Black Gods, but the subordinates forcing the palace. Hey, White Dolphin, haven't you noticed until now? Although your overall strength is superior to mine, you are not focused on one place, but we are working together. This is also the biggest disadvantage. This is not a question of ability, but a question left over from history. Jia Yan believes that if he leaves any force in 100 years, future generations will probably have similar problems. After all, a force will only obey the leader of the older generation, and the descendants of the leader. Replacing it requires considerable effort. Unfortunately, today's White Dolphins are at this juncture. Draft a reply message to me, tell the God of War, and allow him to engage in war with the White God system to some extent. Try to control the war situation within a controllable range, and support will be sent immediately. Yes. The intelligence officer who responded was trembling with excitement and fear. All kinds of emotions filled his heart, making him tremble. This first order that may lead to the start of a real divine war was actually issued by himself. Is he also a person who changes history? After the intelligence officer took the order, Jia Yan sat down. He wasn't too excited. He has gone through too many battles. Events that are shocking to others are just daily trivial matters to him. The war between gods begins. Let's wait until it's turned on. Buzz. After Jia Yan sat down, he stopped observing the information. Instead, he issued the order and asked two god-level experts to go to support him. He himself, the old god, stretched out his palm, and a black flame spurted out from his left hand. This is the authority that belongs to the Black God, and it is also the most authentic and blazing energy in the entire world. Then he stretched out his other hand, and poof, pale white flames came out. Jia Yan's expressionless face exuded a slight uncontrollable smile. Very good, the black energy is nothing, but the white energy in this right hand. He clicked his tongue in surprise. In this world, he originally thought that after the two sides sensed each other's energy, the most they could do was snatch more power over and prepare for the subsequent battle between the two gods. But what surprised Jia Yan was that after he gradually got better at practicing Bai Shen's power, the more he realized, the more frightened he became. This power is not simple. Of course, it is not normal to be simple. After all, White Dolphin is a comparable opponent to Jia Yan, and he has an orthodox inheritance. Compared with a strong man like Jia Yan who relies on his own wild path step by step, he has a higher energy level and more training resources. The stronger levels are not surprising. What was surprising to Jia Yan was that the world did an extremely thorough job of analyzing the power of both sides, and he actually gradually realized the origin of the White Dolphin's power. I don't know if the White Dolphin can also perceive the origin of my power, but I think it is not easy, because the reason why I can perceive the origin of his power is because my cultivation system is naturally easy to accept the two opposite forces. Black and white correspond to what the outside world calls yin and yang, aren't they? Recently, Jia Yan discovered that he had mastered the source of the energy of the white god system, and had cultivated a power that was not weaker than the original power of the black god system. He was shocked, and then more and more exciting thoughts emerged in his heart. That is, even if he loses in this world, if he takes advantage of his strong mental power to go to the outside world and transfer this power perception to his real body, wouldn't it mean that his real body is about to master a power that is not inferior to his current practice? The origin? Regardless of Jia Yan's practice of positive and negative forces, the positive and negative matter seems to have established the foundation of yin and yang dao in his body, so there is no room for progress. The opposite is true. Jia Yan's positive and negative yin and yang dao allowed him to advance to his current level. In fact, it was because he swallowed a small antimatter tree. That small tree became the foundation for Jia Yan's body mutation. Jia Yan has been practicing since then. Yin and Yang Tao is actually a cultivation method that uses the positive and negative constitutions of the body's genes to find a way to integrate them. In terms of physical fitness, unless Jia Yan can continue to find other antimatter to devour, in terms of physical potential, he has almost reached the end. But in terms of cultivation, this is not the case at all. The foundation of his yin-yang dao practice is based on the positive and negative repulsive constitution built by the body. However, the cultivation techniques of positive matter do not actually merge when used on antimatter. This is like putting positrons into the antimatter. It is difficult for electrons to fuse together at all. Jia Yan has also thought about a solution, but unfortunately he never had much clue. Now, Lu Chenjian unintentionally entered the world specially built by the White Dolphin to deal with him, and followed the rules of the White Dolphin game. In this world, he and the White Dolphin intrigued each other to seize the dominance of the two forces in the world, and became the last one. In preparation for the war, in the process, Jia Yan unexpectedly found the foundation of cultivation that was extremely suitable for the yin side of his yin and yang dao. Yes, it's the dark side. The various techniques he has cultivated himself are used as the yang side of the yin and yang dao, and are used by the positive material body. The yin side that has always been incompatible with it just fits the white power of the White Dolphin. Haha, until this battle ends, there is no need to fight the last divine battle. I can already declare in advance that I have won. Seeing the power gushing out of his hands, Jia Yan was filled with joy. He has several back UPS, and the final backup is that no matter whether the White Dolphin wins over him or not, his mental power is strong enough to be defeated and killed by this Black God clone, and he can escape his main mental power back to his true body. In other words, no matter whether he wins or loses this battle, he will not die. No matter what tricks the White Dolphin has and how many conspiracies it has prepared, Jia Yan cannot be defeated here. What's even more exaggerated is that now he has sensed this place from the original power of the world and figured out the original power of the White Dolphin. Because his yin-yang dao's yin side is like a child waiting to be fed without tonics, the source of White God's power in this world is inexplicably in line with the yin side. Jia Yan realized that the power was naturally absorbed by the yin side, absorbing his yin-yang dao biggest flaw fixed. And the origin of Bai Shen's power, because of the harmony of yin and yang, was naturally attracted and became the origin of Jia Yan's yin side. Everything in the world is so unfair. The thing you have been thinking about for a long time was actually obtained by me. To be honest, both of them have a purpose when entering this world. The biggest purpose is to devour the other, gain the other's power, and at the same time master the other's cultivation attributes that are very similar to their own, so as to merge into one and promote the strength into the domain master. Higher level. However, Jia Yan completed the most difficult step without knowing it, because he realized the origin of the White Dolphin's cultivation. Apart from the fact that his energy was still far behind, even if he stopped now, he would have almost no regrets. What does this say? It can only be said that Jia Yan is lucky and has great fortune. When fighting against such a lucky guy, it was only because White Dolphin found the wrong opponent that he deserved to be completely defeated. Of course, we can't say luck. Jia Yan's yin and yang dao was cultivated by himself, and he took the initiative to come to this world to gamble with the White Dolphins. Without this kind of courage, no matter how great luck is, it will not work. Maybe the secrets of cultivation in the world will be given to him. It's not like he's a YY protagonist, Jia Yan is in the ascetic style. As for why the practice has become smoother and smoother, it can only be said that Jia Yan has paid more. If White Dolphin researched the yin and yang Tao, this luck would belong to White Dolphin. So I won't go to this battle. I will practice well at home. When necessary, I will shock the whole audience again. Jia Yan smiled lightly. Anyway, he judged that no matter how big the scale of the first divine battle was, it would never be as big as the last one. The two black and white main gods would go off in person, and it would not be a final battle, so it didn't have to be like this. Rather than saying that this is a divine battle, it is better to say that it is a test between the two sides before the real decisive battle. There will be many similar tests in the future. Only when both sides feel that the time is almost up, will they start the final battle with a tacit understanding. I can feel that the share of the white dolphins in the air is less than mine. As a person who devours the origin and is superior to the white dolphin, Jia Yan can feel the ratio of black and white power in the dark. It was clear that he could not do it before, but it was not until his dark side absorbed enough of the original power of the white dolphin 2 days ago that he was able to do it. This shows that he has overpowered the white dolphin too much after taking this step. If you can grasp the share he absorbs, you can roughly grasp when he wants to start the final battle. After all, he has not swallowed it to a certain extent, and it is impossible to start a decisive battle. Otherwise, if he doesn't swallow my original power, even if he wins, if he leaves me, he won't be able to rely on my energy to enhance his perception after he goes out, let alone improve his strength. That is no different from falling short of success, so for the time being, he will not start the final battle, or even let his subordinates do anything to my people. Dead hand, for fear that I cannot accept the defeat of my subordinates and would take the initiative to leave this world, which would be the same as his failure. Jia Yan is like this, no matter in terms of energy or spirituality, he devours the white dolphin to death. Who knows that this battle is something that White Dolphin invested a lot of resources, manpower, and effort into, and even the battlefield was so well prepared. Jia Yan was sure that he would not be willing to fall short, and even bet his entire life on this plan, even if at a certain price, Jia Yan must be dragged into this world to determine the final outcome. Although his subordinates are helping the tyranny, they are also holding him back. To be honest, this person's character is still a bit hesitant. Put him in my hands, a disobedient subordinate. Ha! For a person with Jia Yan's personality, it goes without saying that he will not accept subordinates who have the slightest possibility of rebellion. Even if he accidentally accepts it, once he understands this person's character, in his heart, this person deserves to die and is sentenced to death. Call him domineering or call him incompetent. In short, this is what Jia Yan does, and he has lived to this day with this mentality. Without this mentality, he might have died countless times in the past. So Jia Yan will not change. Puff. Black and white energy matches air. However, these two terrifying energies that could almost shake the earth did not create any power when they collided. On the contrary, they were both destroyed when they collided in the air. It is shockingly different from the collision of my positive and negative forces. This kind of original power from two strong men is really complementary. Is this the so-called extreme things must turn against each other? Black and white go to the extreme, but blood is thicker than water. Is it related to? Jia Yan flicked his fingers and blew away the hot flames after the two energies were consumed. After training, it's time to see how the battle is progressing. Jia Yan stretched out his hand, and Zhinao flew into his hand. He opened the software inside, clicked on the projection, and a holographic image appeared in front of him. The live broadcast in the video was Master Hu, who had just submitted information on the battle situation. He is moving through the black space at lightning speed, and is leading a large number of subordinates. This is a strong team led by Tiger Young, God of War, and has 3 invincibles, plus more than 50 ordinary sages as ordinary warriors. Having a god as captain would not be an insult to this powerful team. Lord God of War, I wonder if the people from the White God Department will be plotting and plotting over there. After all, they have calmed down the war for a long time. Maybe they will ambush a few god-level masters. I'm afraid. There was a strong half-animal, half-human man who didn't look like a human being, and he gave some advice. But he was interrupted by young master who, with a wave of his hand, "No need to say more, the white god type will not do such a thing, and there is no need to do it. I am a god-level person, so there is no point in doing this kind of ambush. But we are afraid of an ambush." A group of invincible and venerable masters behind him almost uttered a word. However, under the influence of the tense atmosphere, His Majesty the God of War was so murderous that he might get burned if he said unnecessary words. Besides, His Majesty the God of War may be right. God-level masters may not even bother to set up an ambush, which will only damage their reputation. We're here, everyone, get ready. Maybe there will be a fierce battle waiting for us when we get out. Yes. Except for young master who, everyone was frightened. It's no wonder that these masters are not motivated enough. To put it bluntly, they dare to reach out to people of the same level. And this time it is a god-level existence who has no idea how strong it is. How can they not be afraid? That's a god. Buzz. Before the masters could prepare more mentally, young master whose expression suddenly became ferocious, and his tiger claws stretched out, ruthlessly tearing apart the black space in front of him. "You bastards of the White God Department, here I come, old man." Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2816. Old Man. This was the nickname given to young Master Tiger by the Black and White factions during the Galactic Diplomatic War. It's not that there is no one older than him. At least among the White Dolphin subordinates, there are several who are older than him. However, people with high moral standards and high prestige who have never been on the battlefield can at most just sit back and watch, showing off the legacy of their elders and giving guidance to the country. As for Mr. Who, this guy is pitiful. He is very old, and his life exudes a strong sense of twilight. He is still fighting fiercely with young people on the front line, often with earth-shattering results. So everyone jokingly called him the old man, partly to ridicule, but partly to admire his disobedience to the old man. So when he yelled out the title of old man, he was also clarifying his identity to old friends who might exist in the outside world. The old man is not just an old man. In addition to being old, he also has another more important identity, domain lord level. Although there is no evidence that the domain lords from outside will be much stronger than other outsiders after arriving in this world, the fact is before our eyes. The domain lords from both sides arrived in a strange world. They started from the same place, but they still reached different heights. Above others. It's either talent or experience that affects it, and the possibilities are endless. But what cannot be ignored is that the old man is here. He is the lord of the outside world and is stronger than ordinary outsiders. This is something that no one can turn a deaf ear to. Bang! The majestic giant black tiger walked out of the black crack with proud steps, like the king strolling in the courtyard, looking down on the world. Many subordinates behind him also filed out. There is a huge crowd of people outside. However, this huge crowd of people is not just traveling around, but fighting for their lives in each place. The black and white soldiers were fighting and killing each other with the strongest moves they had mastered. Some of the red-eyed ones, even if their bodies were damaged in the battle, still refused to retreat. Hormones burst out in the center of the battlefield, countless people sacrificed their lives for their country, and countless people died to serve their believers. However, they were collectively shocked by Dang Kong's roar. The gods made no secret of their power and roared with all their might. How terrifying was it? Some people with low strength were directly shocked by the sound waves, vomiting blood at the mouth, and suffered severe internal injuries. Others were about to be defeated, but the enemy found the opportunity while they were crumbling, and directly suffered the most fatal move. It can be said that the appearance of Black Tiger directly detonated the entire audience. Countless eyes were cast on this giant tiger, some recognized him, and some didn't know what to do. They suddenly realized it after being pointed out by others. God. And it's the famous Black Tiger god of war from the Black God system. So far, the only person who dares to be named after the god of war is Black Tiger in the Black God system. The White Light god of war is also the only one in the White God system. This shows that the two of them have at least the highest combat power in their respective god systems. They are among the top group of beings, otherwise they would not dare to call themselves gods of war. In an instant, many people in the Black God department who were struggling to support themselves and lost hope burst into bursts of joyful shouts. As for the White God department, their morale has been slightly affected. The war just now has gone directly to the White God section in the originally anxious battle, because the White God sect came out of the blue. A master of the gods arrived and killed the Black God sect with great strength and invincibility. The White God sect directly gained the greatest advantage. They were about to completely defeat the Black God's troops. Unexpectedly, as a counterattack for the gods to intervene in the war, a god from the Black Gods also came. I don't know if there are other gods supporting me behind the scenes. In today's war, even if gods are involved, will it still end in defeat? Oh, it's the old man here. Your appearance is a bit strange to this junior. Suddenly, the battlefield was completely silent due to the arrival of a god-level master, which was broken by another slightly joking voice. Behind the White God line, two figures slowly rose up. Unrivaled momentum surged out of their bodies like a mountain. Even the masters at the supreme level couldn't help but keep retreating, with a look of horror on their faces. It is rare for the venerable level to see someone with god-level strength. In the past, many masters at the venerable level believed that those above were at the god level. Although it was difficult for them to become gods, they were only one level away from the gods. Although they did not say so, they did not regard the gods as gods in their hearts. But now many people have seen the gap. Mortals and gods, that is a chasm, they can't even bear the breath. Oh, who am I talking about? It turns out it's you two clowns. In the past, you didn't even dare to look at me, the old man. What's the matter? Here, you are not afraid of me, the old man. The Black Tiger's roar was obviously full of energy, but when he talked to these white gods, he was old-fashioned and lacked the courage he had when he was a groom every night. Bah, who has ever been afraid of you? Don't try to rely on your old age. We call you old man, but we are not complimenting you. The two powerful men of the white god type flying towards the sky looked embarrassed. At the same time, they are also measuring the current level of strength of the powerful black gods. The previous friction between the two sides was in the small world. It has been a long time since the divine battle. For the masters coming from the outside world, this time is enough for them to push their strength to the top of the world. And what is full of uncertainties is that both sides can easily reach the highest peak that the world can accommodate, but the final strength varies from person to person. Maybe when a person with ordinary strength arrives in this world, a mediocre feature in his own cultivation skills will become his biggest magic weapon to win here. After all, anything can happen in this created world. The three great gods faced each other in the air, seemingly 2 against 1, but none of them acted rashly. The outside domain lords, no matter what their apparent strength, would be much stronger than these two outside masters who only had mid-level galactic strength. But 2 versus 1, and the two of them also have their own methods, make everything confusing. Who wins and who loses is not easy to decide now. You have to fight to find out. You flew out of the base camp, and you must have decided to fight the old man and me. Haha, I didn't expect that this time the god of war will be the old man who will light the fire. Are you ready? Let's start when you are ready. The black tiger assumed a fighting posture and was ready. No, the opponent was frightened by the crisp and neat posture of this cunning opponent from the outside world. Old man, are you really not afraid of the consequences? This is a divine battle. Once it starts, it may be doomed. I'm afraid of eggs. I'm tired of staying here. My real body can't die anyway. Do you think I'm afraid, old man? I'm still waiting to go out quickly and go to the outside world to find a way to extend the life of my real body. Well, things in the world are often so magical. The white god type killed an invincible black god type. It was clear that he was looking for trouble and was not afraid to start a divine war. But after seeing that the other party was determined to fight without mercy, they became a little hesitant. Why is this old man so different from the character they know? He invites the fight so neatly. Is there any conspiracy? Jia Yan's old man is well known to the outside world. In addition to his age and old age, another thing is that he is old and has a lot of tricks. He spends a lot of time using sweet words to win over his opponents. He can win without fighting. He doesn't fight, so it's hard for people to believe that he will change from the old man who only knows how to talk and is extremely powerful in fighting to the reckless man in front of him. They don't know Black Tiger's growth process in this world. If they knew, I'm afraid some of them would have similar thoughts. An old man suddenly seems to be reborn into a body full of vitality. What will he do? The old man is a typical example. He was squandering the youth of this body as much as possible. He enjoyed the youth that his real body had not enjoyed, and his personality changed drastically. Outsiders may not be able to understand it, but as old people, I am afraid that everyone who receives such treatment will have similar frivolous thoughts. What? I'm not afraid. Could it be that you are afraid? If you want to fight, fight. If you don't want to fight, get out of this area. Send 2 more invincible bodies to us and let me, the Black God Department, handle it. Otherwise, I will did the invincible person from the Black God Department die in vain. Black Tiger spoke quickly and directly shouted out his conditions. Impossible. It is impossible to withdraw from the battle line, and it is even more impossible to send 2 invincible realms to be dealt with by the Black God system. Who dares to agree to these 2 conditions? How is this different from losing power and humiliating the country? Besides, they came here to stir up trouble in the first place, to repay Jia Yan's avatar for killing 2 god-level masters of their white god family. If they are timid and afraid of getting into trouble, there will definitely be someone inside the Bashan department who will give them little shoes to wear. After all, the internal strife within the White God sect is much more serious than that of the Black God section. There are many factions and there are many who agree with the party and oppose those who dissent. Then let's start a war. Giggles. The 2 white gods were forced by the Black Tiger, their faces were as pale as paper, and their momentum was actually at a disadvantage. You too, he is using his aura to suppress you. Wait, haven't you noticed yet? Yun Danfunking's voice came from behind the 2 of them, making them come back to their senses from the shock. Damn it! The 2 white gods felt their faces dim for a moment. This is the talent of the Tiger clan, deterrence. After all, tiger roars are something that many native creatures are instinctively afraid of. However, no one has ever thought that someone could use this racial talent to deal with gods. This is no longer a talent, it is like a magical skill. The 2 of them were obviously in the inferior position, and they felt angry and angry. You old immortal, how dare you use dirty tricks, old madman, as you wish, this divine battle will begin between us. Fight. The 2 of them looked fierce but felt that they had been humiliated. They exploded and suddenly launched an offensive towards the Black Tiger god. Is there anyone else behind? Young master who looked at the two gods attacking him from the air, but the old god was there. He was not afraid at all. Instead, he focused his attention on the direction where the sound had just been made to remind the two gods. The depths of the Bashan base camp were calm, as if no one had spoken from there just now. But young master who couldn't have heard it wrong. There was a being sitting there whose status and strength were probably higher than the two powerful white gods in front of him. Three gods. I'm afraid it's hard for me to withstand my old bones. I don't know when the support Lord Jiayan just mentioned will arrive. He still remembered that Jiayan had just sent him a letter, saying that he would send two god-level reinforcements, but he didn't say who would come. You slaughtered me, the invincible black god type, and now I take the initiative to challenge you. You shameless people, let me teach you a lesson. He wasn't too worried about the hidden man. He must have known that the black god system couldn't let a god go into battle. This is the first god war after a long time. Looking back at the god war above, dozens of gods break the sky at every turn. If the black god system dares to send only one god this time, it will be the whole god system from top to bottom. All brainless. Of course, the black god cannot be brainless, otherwise he would not be the life or death enemy of the white god. Therefore, even if the man behind him had the opportunity to severely injure young master Hu, he chose not to show up and act as his coward. Boom. In mid-air, the fight at the god level started in full swing without any hesitation. The fighting army below knew for the first time what it means when gods fight and mortals suffer. The thrilling black and white swayed down from the sky, causing the mountains to collapse and the earth to collapse. Young Master Hu and the two white gods have done their best to take care of the soldiers below, and try not to affect these ordinary people. However, no matter how finely the power is controlled, there will always be uncontrollable traces that fall to the outside world. These slightest bits of power are exactly what caused the world to collapse. Countless warriors, whether they were venerable masters or earth-level soldiers, felt that disaster was approaching them. Some people even just saw a small ball of black and white light reaching their eyes, and the whole person seemed to disappear out of thin air. Turned directly into dust. This is the power of the gods. Create the world. Shocking and enlightening. This is God. Far beyond the so-called invincible realm closest to the gods. For a moment, the venerables lost the hope in their eyes and the spark that was in their hearts. No matter how you practice, it is impossible to reach the god level. Because the gods and them don't seem to belong to the same species at all. Trying to cultivate from a mortal to a god level is tantamount to wishful thinking. Countless masters, in addition to the terrifying power of shock, are more sad because they clearly understand the gap between them and the gods. Of course, the mentality of fear and fear took over more of them. At least 99% of the people forgot about the battle and fled madly to the rear. Ha ha ha, the bastards of the White God Department just killed my eldest brother so boldly, as if they were slaughtering flowers and plants. How about it? There is someone behind my eldest brother, and my gods will avenge him. Ha 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 ha, I will kill the mortals, kill them. Ah, kill you all. There was also a man who looked like a madman, in the middle of the raised battlefield, wantonly chasing and killing white god-type people, and he specifically hunted down the venerable level people. One or two of the venerable level people who were focused on escaping were left helpless by him, but they unwilling to stop and miss the opportunity to escape, one of them was killed by his sword. Poof. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2817. This venerable person was kneeling on the ground. The big hole in his heart was bleeding and his mouth was full of blood. He was bleeding endlessly. It turned out that he had been seriously injured. Brother, I have avenged you. I will come to see you soon, brother. This venerable level is actually a brother with a different surname who was killed by the white god before. Now he avenges his brother and has to see his own god come to vent his anger on his elder brother. It is considered that he has achieved his wish and can follow his elder brother. You value love and righteousness. Although you can go to the underworld and be reborn as a soul, it would be a pity to die. A pair of big hands suddenly pressed on the venerable's back, and the man felt a steady stream of life force pouring down his shoulders. Like an enlightenment, the life he had lost visibly increased again, and the wounds that had injured his life began to stop bleeding and sprout granulations. Human flesh and bones, living and dead? This is a magical method. Looking back, I saw that the person who came was an extraordinary young man, but he was dressed in the attire of a cultivator of immortality. His face was like a crown jewel, and he was indescribably handsome. Are you, the god of Leda? Sir, why are you bothering me? I don't want to live anymore. This person quickly stood up to greet him, and then smiled bitterly. It doesn't have to be like this. The big brother you talk about is dead in this life. However, he is in the name of my black god. We will never see him disappear. You know, in the underworld, the powerful and invincible man at this time should be killed by the Lord of Hell. I have met the god of death, and you will see us again in the future. Ah! Thank you to the gods, my eldest brother is not really dead, haha, great, great. This venerable man had heard a little bit about the black god's control over the underworld. Now that he had been personally verified by the gods, his tears turned into laughter and he no longer wanted to die. Well, you go back to recuperate. This battlefield is no longer something that your lord can interfere with. I will go too. As he spoke, the young man stood up calmly, floated into the sky, and headed towards the direction of the god-level battlefield. The gods are the gods. It seems that such magnanimity is beyond the reach of even the invincible realm of the venerable realm. The venerable master looked yearning, but he didn't know how humble Leda, a god who looked so glamorous at first glance, was in front of his adult, the black god. Of course, that the sub-scenes will not be seen by ordinary people casually. Sure enough, the black gods also have support. Old immortal, aren't you talking nonsense? Do you dare not to call for help? In the center of the battlefield, the two gods who were wrestling with young master who looked joking. But how could the cunning young master who be fooled by such a method? You don't need to use aggressive tactics on me. You have eaten more rice than I have traveled. Using this method on me is tantamount to trying to do the same thing. What comes next is, Leda, join me to kill these two people and make a good start. Yes. The young man who came behind him, Leda, shouted a sonorous and powerful promise, and then his figure flew into the fighting circle like lightning. Don't forget, Leda is a relative of the old domain lord. If Leda hadn't invited him, the old domain lord wouldn't have come to help Jia Yan. As a junior, he was naturally respectful to the old domain lord, not at all. Not much more high profile than Jia Yan. Humph, it turns out it's you, Leda. The other party originally did not know Leda, a god who did not do much in the black god system, but when Master Hu called out his name, who would not recognize Leda? As the number one loser in Jia Yan's force, although Leda is mediocre in terms of strength, because he holds his thigh tightly, he is vaguely like the second-in-command messenger. In the White Dolphin force, Leda is the tower also has quite a reputation. However, this reputation does not reflect his own strength. Leda's strength is not high, that is, he is just at the top of the primary level of galaxy, not even in the middle level. His current status in the Black God system depends entirely on his loyalty to Jia Yan and the magic weapon given by Jia Yan. Without this magical weapon, Leda would have died long ago in several battles with outside masters, so there would be no chance for him to enter this world and make waves. Without the magic weapon, you are just a grandson here. Those two people were all mid-level experts from the outside world. When they saw Leda, their ferocious expressions became even more apparent after they looked at each other. If it was just the old man who came today, they wouldn't have much confidence in keeping him even if they added the hidden person behind them, but here comes Leda again. Even though Leda is a supporting force, no one regards him as a supporting force. On the contrary, it may be a hindrance to the old man. In this case, the old man does not need to stay, but Leda has the opportunity to stay. Otherwise, it will be a shame for the name of this first battle between gods. What's the point of a small fight? The fight has already begun. If one or two gods are not killed, it won't be the first divine war. After all, there is no excitement at all without seeing blood. Who is the grandson? Let's see the truth under our hands. When Leda heard this, he knew that these two were old acquaintances of his. It seemed that he didn't know which one they were. After all, there were many people coming from the White Dolphin side. Not everyone knew the identity of the outside world before, but it didn't matter whether they were different or not. I came here to assist my seniors in causing chaos. He didn't participate much in the last divine battle because he wasn't strong enough. In this divine battle, he had to seize the opportunity to show off. Immediately, the young man's eyebrows and eyes furrowed, with an expression of embarrassment. Hey, you two evil men, watch your moves. After all, he is a galaxy-level master from the outside world. Leda's subordinates are still somewhat skilled, and his moves are far beyond the ordinary invincibility level. They are full-fledged gods. Don't overestimate your own capabilities. A man came out from the opposite side, holding a weapon, and fought with Leda. The two sides started to fight for a while, and the world was full of black and white power at the level of gods. What was very different from what they taught Leda in their words was that even Leda and the others could not win at once. The four of them fought into two. A battle group fought so hard that everything turned upside down. The ground was covered with blood, and what was very damaging was that young master who controlled the power slightly more than those present, and still had some room to spare. He knew that it was impossible to take down the two gods in front of him in one go, so he simply did it. Use your crooked brain to focus on the enemy below. From time to time, black energy threatens the white god's power and pours onto the white god's fleeing army. God-level power, let alone ordinary soldiers, even those who are not powerful at the venerable level will collapse at the touch. Suddenly blood flowed into a river, and the scene was horrific. Damn it, old immortal, are you deliberately targeting ordinary people? That's it for you. I also said that you are deliberately eradicating dissidents. Maybe you are a traitor to my Black God department. Old thing, you must die a happy death. As soon as the two started talking, the other party immediately realized that he could not be the old man's opponent. He was so angry that he became more aggressive. The two sides immediately showed real fire and used their trump card. This is also because both sides are subordinates. The meaning of existence in this world is to perform missions for the master. Death is not really dead. At most, it only loses some mental power. To put it bluntly, they are wasting their time here, and their harvest will definitely not be as great as in the outside world, so it is impossible to use their sincerity. Even if they know in their hearts that they should not be like this, it is difficult to treat the battle as a real life and death battle. On the other hand, young master who became much more serious. He has become accustomed to the youthfulness and strength of this body. In other words, after getting used to enjoying it, he will be very disappointed if he goes out and returns to his old body. So I don't want to die. But the enemy doesn't know, otherwise he could use this point against him. Boom. Heat waves erupted between heaven and earth, and the battlefield just now turned into a field of magma. If the fight continues like this, let alone the battle below, the entire planet may be ignited from the inside and then exploded. After all, a battle at the god level would be at the pinnacle of semi-star level in the outside world, not to mention that their understanding of energy is at the galactic level, and it would take a matter of minutes to blow up a planet. It won't do any good for either side to fight here. Let's go to the stars. As they spoke, the four divine bodies raised their heads and chests high, and entered the land of stars in the blink of an eye. To them, the starry sky is just another wider area, while to the mortals in this world, the starry sky is like an out-of-reach restricted area of life. A battle at the level of gods is indeed beyond our reach. The saved venerable climbed out of the ground in a state of disgrace. Although he was easily rescued by Leda just now, he was too close to the battlefield. He didn't want to die, so he found another way and got into the ground. Fortunately, he made this move, otherwise the energy storm on the ground would be enough to tear him apart completely, leaving him in pieces. Puff. Suddenly, another figure emerged from beside him. He paused and looked at the white figure that emerged for less than half a second. Kill. In an instant, the eyes of the black god-type venerable were red, and although they were not as powerful as gods, they burst out with energy as powerful as a rainbow, and charged towards the white god-type venerable. The Bai Shen had been seriously injured, his eyes were dull for a moment, and it was impossible not to fight, so he had to curse in his heart and raised his fists, using a pair of fleshy palms to fight against the venerable level offensive. Because of the departure of the gods, a similar battlefield has reopened beneath the earth. The scarred earth records the actions of the two irreconcilable sides on the battlefield. War is cruel. Even for the semi-virtual characters in this world, the resulting destruction of families, all kinds of nausea, burning, killing and looting are so sad that they make people feel like they are in a normal real world. Of course, after the white dolphin is completely normalized, this world can barely be regarded as a normal world. After breaking away from computer code deduction and using a large amount of resource accumulation to allow life and planets to be born, this place cannot even be said to be a normal world. The normal world definitely belongs to the category of Half-Life world. If you give it some time, maybe it can gradually break away from the name of Half-World and become a small world under the Milky Way. There are actually many similar worlds in the galaxy. They are all worlds that were slowly born, established, and evolved due to various reasons such as technology or the creation of powerful people. There are even some worlds that, after thousands of years, have stepped out of the scope of the world and moved towards the Milky Way. By chance, they have become a member of a powerful force or race in the Milky Way. Of course, in that situation, no one will be willing to admit that they are where did our ancestors come from. Die. After all the hard work, the venerable level beheaded the white god-type master who was already covered in bruises and panting. Boom. The stars in the sky are like exploding firecrackers, exploding into a scene of star destruction. Has the result come out? Which god died? He suddenly fell silent and quickly raised his eyes to look at the sky. Above the dazzling stars, a large amount of energy is vented, and endless black and white occupy the entire viewing angle, making people speechless. No matter how high-spirited the venerable level or the invincible realm is, they will not be willing to stay in such a place where power is gushing out for even a second, because it is a place of death. For mortals and even the invincible realm, there is absolutely no possibility of survival. And this death scene was actually caused by the aftermath of the battle between gods. God is God. The venerable level sighed secretly in his heart, feeling ashamed of himself. However, he did not forget his purpose, which was to take a closer look to see if the thunderous explosion in the sky just now was caused by the death of a certain god in battle. The death of gods was something that countless people would never dare to think about, but recently, it has become a reality and has even become accustomed to it. The reason is very simple. When the first divine war broke out, a god-level person died. Later, Jia Yan, the instigator, also used his clone to kill two more white gods by self-destruction or using weapons. This allows mortals who know the information to clearly understand that although God is a god, God will also be killed by other gods. I saw the presence in the sky that caused everyone's uneasiness, gradually revealing its figure. He is at least tens of thousands of kilometers away from the ground, but under the gaze of the Venerable, he is still clearly visible. It's hard even if it's not clear. Because at this time, this man was holding a weapon, dressed in bright clothes and an angry horse, with a domineering look on his face. He had changed from his previous suave appearance, and now had murderous intent. The murderous intent reaches the sky, causing strange phenomena for thousands of kilometers. He is Leda. He was also the one who caused the enemy gods to fight each other and explode. Very surprised. Why not the stronger Tiger Master? It's actually quite normal. Because in the outside world, Leda was favored by Jia Yan and gave him a yin-yang Tao magic weapon that was enough to kill enemies across levels. In this world, when Jia Yan developed something similar to the yin-yang Tao magic weapon, he also how about being stingy? That's right, Leda has another cheating tool in his hand, a black god artifact made by Jia Yan himself. Jia Yan's clone used the black god artifact, and then triggered the artifact to self-destruct. It could kill a white god-type god with less than half a star's clone strength. Then Leda, who originally had the power of a god, could use it with Jia Yan's specially crafted artifact. It would be a fool's errand if he could no longer achieve miraculous feats. As a result, Leda had been holding back in the early stage, waiting until the enemy relaxed their vigilance and thought that he only had the strength, and then launched a lightning-fast attack and kill. The power of the artifact is fully activated, and the power of the black god flows into the artifact like a tide. The result is: you are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2818. The result is: it was as if a hole had been blown out of the sky. A white god-type opponent was torn apart in the chaotic explosion and was blown to pieces. Hey, you look down on me, Leda, right? You have all forgotten that although I, Leda, am weak, there is someone behind me. Leda's face showed a villainous demeanor that was clearly inconsistent with his identity as a god, and the weapon he held in his hand unleashed overwhelming power. This guy has been taking advantage of Jia Yan's influence since the beginning of the outside world, and now in this half of the world, he is still engaged in his old profession. Perhaps it was his experience from a backward place to the central star field of the Milky Way that gave him an enlightenment and realized what the right path was. After all, his talent was mediocre. If he wanted to get another chance to improve, he might as well borrow the power of others. The so-called 360 lines, the best in each line, regardless of whether the cat is blind or dead, the one that can catch mice is a good cat. You laugh at him for being humble, but he laughs at you for not knowing the way to go. This is the difference between people. Anyway, Leda lived a happy life. No, he used the artifact given by his boss to kill a powerful enemy. You are still awesome. Young master who was standing next to him, fighting with another master of the white god system who had trouble sleeping and eating, his face full of envy. In fact, it's not that he can't kill his opponent, but he can't do it as easily as Leda, and maybe he has to pay a price, so he won't compete with Leda for the first kill. Hey, prize, 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 it's his turn next. Without thinking, Leda turned around and pointed his sword at the other Shirakami master who was already frightened. This person is not afraid of death, because the death here is not real death. It's just that he went out to the Milky Way at the beginning of this war. He will only make his colleagues laugh in the future, which will be embarrassing. So when he saw Leda turning the edge of his sword, knowing that he was bound to die, he stared down and roared. What are you still looking at? Will you wait until everyone is dead before you take action? By then it will be too late. Well. Along with his roar, the sound that had been heard before came from the hinterland of the planet below. This man rose up from the ground calmly, with a look of uncompromising anger on his face. You two are useless. If you can delay me a little longer and let me see their flaws, I might have a chance to deal with them. It's a pity that you teamed up with the likes of you. The visitor is an unfamiliar character. He also participated in the last battle between the gods, but he was not the main combat force of the White God system. However, it was not the main force last time, probably because of some accident, but now this person is coming menacingly, and his power is not inferior to that of young Master Hu. What he meant in his words was that he was observing in secret. If he saw any flaws in either Master Hu or Leda, he would take advantage of them. It's a pity that the two pig teammates can't help, so what can he do? You call me cowards? If you hadn't come up with some bad idea and asked us to be bait for you to hunt these two people, why would we be in this situation? The master of the White God system was in a very unfavorable situation, but he was still furious, as if he had been humiliated. He is not afraid of life and death. The worst he can do is go out because he is afraid of an egg. That's right, noisy. If you continue to argue, let's work harder and kill him so no one will argue. Leda laughed heartily, and the long sword in his hand seemed to have eyes, exploding with astonishing power. With one sword strike, this unyielding white god was forced into a desperate situation. If nothing else goes wrong, this white god type god will be the second person to die today, and the loss to the white god type will be too great. Call out. However, the masters who are coming from the disadvantage of the planet are noisy, but they will not die without help. A sharp white god's light shot out from mid-air and passed by Leda's side, forcibly blocking Leda's sword energy. Oh! You can actually block my attack. It seems you are a master. Leda looked back at this person with some surprise. Leda, I'll leave this newcomer to you, and I'll deal with this guy in front of you. Young Master Tiger unpretentiously used his tiger claws to release a scratching attack. The old man's cunning and lazy ability was demonstrated at this moment, and he did not deal with the obviously stronger newcomer. Yes, Senior. Leda was depressed for a moment. He actually wanted to deal with the white god enemy who was already a little exhausted, but he was too shy to be too slow. As a result, Master Hu took the lead. It seems that we need to learn from the elderly and be thick-skinned, otherwise we will suffer a loss. Judging from the shameless postures of the two people, it is easy to imagine who Leda learned these routines from. In short, Leda's sword was like a dragon, swinging towards the new enemy coming below. In fact, the fight between the two sides has almost ended here. Although Leighton knows that there should be a supporter of the black gods below the earth, but since the battle has reached this state, the black gods have already killed one of the opponents, which is equivalent to not only getting revenge, but also taking advantage. Then this person doesn't need to show up. Although the white gods have a lot of manpower, if they continue to suffer such fruitless losses, the white dolphins and the others will become hysterical. That would not be good if everything comes to a dead end. Like the white dolphins and the others, the black gods still have some final preparations for the war and do not want to directly start the final decisive battle between the black and white gods. Clang. Oh! Your strength is really good. Leda fought a few moves with the white god-type master who was rising under the planet, but felt that the backlash was so strong that even the artifact in his hand felt a little overwhelming. He couldn't help but secretly clicked his tongue. The artifact given to him by Jia Yan himself can greatly enhance his strength. Even ordinary gods are almost vulnerable to a blow when he goes all out. However, when this person fought with him, he seemed to be suppressing him. Leda, you're not bad either. The visitor was unfazed. Compared to Leda's shock at his strength, he had seen enough of Leda's strength and probably knew it well. Who are you? Seeing that this man was so popular, Leda wanted to know his identity in the outside world. If you know the identity of the outsiders, you can know their fighting methods and their shortcomings. Although in this world, the methods and abilities of outsiders may change, the basic character and fighting style cannot be changed at will. So it's easy to find countermeasures. Rita, do you think I'm a fool? This person was asked a few questions by Leda, and he smiled instead of being angry. His attitude actually showed something. Leda's heart was electric. Some smart people can analyze the identity of the other person through the way the other person speaks and the tone of voice. The two sides were fighting to a draw for the time being, and both obviously had reservations. Leda used her brain and thought for a moment. This person's conversation with me feels like he has an old relationship with me, and the content is old. There should be some enmity in it. In other words, he may have fought with me before. Looking at him supporting these two white god masters, it shows that he should be related to them. And looking at the surviving one who dares to talk nonsense about him, it shows that this person's strength in the outside world may be different from those two. Only a few, even though they are strong in this world, those two people may not obey his orders. Leda was still a little clever, and suddenly a flash of lightning flashed in her heart, and certain images flashed out. That was when he was ordered by Jia Yan to go to the surrounding star fields to invite other masters to join the Battle of the Orion Arm. On his way back, he was besieged by several powerful men. If Lord Jia Yan had not appeared, he would have been almost wiped out in that starry sky. Battle. Suddenly, he thought of a certain existence. Are you the monkey domain lord? My mother? Leda was short of breath. When he led the group of foreign aid behind him to the Orion Arm, the battle he encountered was too dangerous. He exploded with the power of the Yin and Yang Dao magic weapon, and was able to barely hold back the monkey territory lord and his clone. If Lord Jia Yan hadn't arrived in time, maybe there wouldn't have been so many helpers behind him in that battle. The monkey creature's amazing clone ability was also something that impressed Leda that time. Haha, is it a monkey creature? There was a hint of displeasure in the other person's human-shaped eyes. In fact, although he rose to prominence and stole the show in the battle to intercept Jia Yan's subordinates, it was a pity that his clones were almost exhausted in that battle, and now his overall strength has declined. At least to the outside world, his identity has remained the same. After falling again and again, it has become worse than even the ordinary mid-level galaxy. Otherwise, why would the two previous masters dare to roar at me? You know, those two people were just outside sentries to fight against the autumn wind. Now they dare to talk back to him, and all this was caused by Jia Yan and Jia Yan's subordinates. And the person who bore the brunt of harm to him was none other than Leda in front of him. It wasn't that he had used some magic weapon to hold down several of his clones. Maybe he had accomplished a miraculous feat. You are still like this, your mind works very fast, and you didn't expect that in this world, you are still borrowing foreign objects. Are you happy to be a licking dog? The two maintained a fierce exchange of fire on the surface, but in private, the rhythm of the battle was orderly, and it was obvious that they were not trying their best. Of course it's not that they are slacking off, but that they are still in the exploratory stage. You don't understand the joy of licking a dog. Leda didn't think that being said to be a dog licker was a scolding to him, but he took it calmly and was extremely helpful. There's something wrong with your brain. The opponent's expression changed. Faced with such a person who was so indifferent, did not know how to challenge his generals, and had no shame at all, he really couldn't influence his opponent's fighting state from a psychological level. Why don't you? Leda was also speechless. He was scolded by a guy who had many clones and used other people's corpses for fun. Even he felt extremely insulted. It's not enough to talk about it. Since we can't communicate at the language level, let's get down to the real deal. The two continued their mutual European relationship in full swing. As a result, the battle situation continued to enter a 2-on-2, evenly matched situation. The mortals below, who had been watching in awe, gradually got used to it. The black and white divine soldiers looked at the enemies on the opposite side, their eyes glowing with blood-red light. Even the gods are beaten to death, how dare these mortals still hang out? That would be so sorry to the gods. Kill. Kill those white god-type minions. Evil black god believers, you will surely be baptized by the holy fire. The scolding war between the black and white troops is a commonplace. The black god accuses the white god of being human-like and beast-like, while the white god accuses the black god of doing evil things. Both sides were talking in different words. They had already been killed and their blood flowed like rivers. They just wanted to continue killing now. The huge crowds of soldiers from both sides fought fiercely together again. What was even more shocking was that they were all masters at the prefectural level or above. 1 or 2 prefecture level masters were nothing, but groups of prefecture level, heaven level, and other masters gathered together. There is also a pressure that makes even the galaxy level eclipse. Stop it. After fighting for a long time, Leda gradually got better, but his opponent was out of breath and his eyes wandered. A god-level person has been lost in this battle, and if he or another one is trapped here, the entire war may have a huge impact. The death of 2 god-level people is nothing to the White Dolphins, their manpower is still far greater than that of Jiayan. But at the beginning of the Second God War, you lost 2 more gods. Considering the heavy losses suffered by the White God system in the last God War, the prestige of the Black God system will probably be directly raised to another level. Mortals will not look at both of your gods. How much to compare, and whether your strengths are balanced, only look at past results. So no more people can be killed, otherwise people will lose their hearts in this battle. Stop if you say stop. God level personally takes action to kill me, the invincible black god type. If you take this matter seriously and you say stop, will you forget it? Then what do you think? We have lost a god. The other party was furious. What is this guy who only dares to rely on the power of weapons shouting about? This war was indeed initiated by them, and they were well prepared to start a war between gods. However, both sides had a tacit understanding for a long time. No matter where a god died in the first battle, they would stop. Otherwise, if the war continues without limit, the 2 main gods, the supreme gods, the black and white gods, will definitely take action. That will be the real decisive battle. It's not that the 2 sides are really unprepared, but that neither side understands the origin of the world enough. Even if they win by then, devouring the other side will not be enough to get 100% of the benefits. The fight has already reached this level, who doesn't want to maximize profits? Leda looked at Mr. Who was fighting fiercely behind him. Both sides have a good understanding. They all received clear instructions from Jiayan that the war could be stopped when it was almost at this point. What's more, it seems that the war between the black gods was started by the other side, but the one who is really filled with righteous indignation is the white gods. Not only did they lose their gods, but they also lost all face. After this battle, there must be more and more white gods switching sides to the black gods. It can be said that the Black God sect has gained a lot besides, if you really want to get to the bottom of it, the cause of this war is that the shameless Jiayan used the clone tactic to kill the 2 major gods of the White God section. Otherwise, the White God sect, how could he be so intolerable that he started this small-scale divine war? We don't want to cease the war, but since you asked for it, it's not impossible to negotiate. Let's do this. As a punishment for defeat, you withdraw from this planet, which is considered a loss to us. In addition, in front of the public, it means that you plotted against me first. The black gods are invincible. Of course, it goes without saying that you are despicable and shameless. We don't force others to do anything, as long as the meaning is in place, understand what I mean. How about, these 2 requirements are not excessive? Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2819. Isn't this too much? The two white gods were about to bleed. This is what people from the black god system are like. After dealing with them for a long time, they knew that these guys were like gangsters and had no regard for face and moderation. And you really can't blame Jia Yan, because Jia Yan is younger than his subordinates. Rather than saying that Jia Yan led his subordinates into evil, it is better to say that these subordinates were already like this before they knew Jia Yan. Looks like it? To put it bluntly, it is because they live in a backward starry sky that they are hard to get rid of their evil nature. If there is any benefit, then I will die for it. Are there any of you like this? Our White God Department announced that we caused the war, and then we gave up this planet. How is this different from admitting defeat? These two requirements are unacceptable. The two shouted coldly in unison. This won't work, we can discuss it. Boom. Hey, you two black god type bastards, you said you were going to discuss it, but you still attacked us secretly. Didn't we say we didn't agree? We'll stop fighting after we've negotiated. The four of them fought intermittently. Master Hu and Leda completely mastered the rhythm of the battle. Several times, they almost caused the weaker white god master to be killed on the spot. He was so frightened that he was sweating coldly and his eyes were crazy. Old man, if you push me again, I will fight tooth and nail. This man was already weaker when fighting against young Master Hu. Just now, neither of them could suppress young Master Tiger, and now, alone, he is even more in danger. He burst out with energy, as if he was about to start another real life and death duel with Master Hu. Don't, old man, I also have a good life. If I kill you and wait for one person to be satisfied, I don't even want to kill you if you come to die. He said that he was sparing people's lives, but the person who was spared was so worried that he almost died of anger. This yin and yang old man's words are really thorny. Oh no, there is a thorn in his words, every sentence is deadly, and everyone who listens will be angry to death. What does it mean to have a good life? He was simply afraid of triggering a full-scale decisive battle, and he acted so righteously. Young Master Hu jumped away, so naturally this battlefield could not be fought. Leda on the other end made a feint, made a tactical retreat, and jumped to the old man's side. His own strength is not as good as that of the human being transformed by the monkey territory lord. He relies purely on the weapons given by Jia Yan, but the weapons are consumables. If he continues to fight, they may be wasted, so he refuses to continue to do useless work. Tell me, what are your demands? Don't go too far. We are not the only ones who want to stop the war. The two masters of the white god system gathered together with expressions of absolute determination. They were all furious. Not to mention that the white gods were completely defeated, they acted as if they wanted to make an unequal treaty. If they were forced to do so again, they would not hesitate to fight tooth and nail. The planet below is already close to being in pieces, with ruins everywhere. It seems that when the two sides fought, they paid a little attention to the area where a large number of intelligent life forms were located, and the casualties were not as serious as expected. But there will definitely be a lot of casualties. Our request, first of all, one thing is absolute, that is, we want this planet. You see, there is no longer any condition or necessity for garrison on the planet. This matter is one of the necessary conditions for us to explain it later. After all, this battle was caused by your white god sect killing me, the invincible black god section. No matter what, the facts are the facts, do you admit it or not? The other party was silent for a moment, and then the two nodded. Okay, give us the planet. As for publicity, we will naturally say that we won the war, but we don't need you to admit defeat. You can go back and say that the planet is already broken, and you have no intention of fighting with my black god system again, so it's just lost. It can even be said to be more exaggerated. In short, no matter how you smear it, let me wait for the planet. When you turn around, You don't need to say that you asked for a ceasefire. Is this okay? Okay. The two of them stopped talking and looked deeply at the two masters of the Black God system in front of them. The six-pointed star teleportation magic widely used by the White God system appeared under their feet and disappeared as soon as they opened their eyes. Fortunately, let's go. If we continue the fight, all the weapons given to me by Mr. Jiayan will be lost. Fortunately, I'm lucky. Leda picked up the weapon given by Jiayan with heartache. Really, boy, no matter outside or here, you rely too much on Master Jiayan for protection. Do you really think that you can reach the peak of cultivation in this way? Young Master who suddenly changed his behavior as a young man in this world and asked in an extremely deep voice. I can't guarantee whether I can reach the peak of cultivation, but, uncle, you don't know where the central star field of the Milky Way is. There, an existence like me is just dispensable. Even if I don't join Jia Master Yan, do you think I can reach the peak of success? Young Master who was silent for a moment and sighed. Who can guarantee so much about cultivation? He himself reached the Domain Lord level and practiced in a daze. Luck, talent, and ability are indispensable. Even if he has great luck and good means, he is still stuck. Junior Domain Master. No matter how much he looks down on his nephew, the fact is that his nephew is able to compete with him at some level after using various weapons given by Jiayan, which shows that he has indeed achieved a great step forward in strength by groveling before others, although it is only temporary. Maybe I have nothing to stop you. Children and grandchildren will have their own blessings. There are thousands of avenues, and it is possible to reach the top. Maybe it is you. It was a rare sight for young Master Hu to reveal a strong look of burning candles in the wind in his eyes. After all, no matter how strong his spirit is here, he still can't hide the fact that his own spiritual power has already become an old life form. Sorry, uncle, let's go back. Lord Jiayan will hold a reception banquet for us. Yes, let's go. Haha, the banquet is not enough. I want him to let me go to the tiger planet to find more beauties to enjoy. Leda, who was following Master Hu step by step, looked helplessly at the back of his senior, wondering if this uncle looked like this when he was young. It is naturally not a big deal to dig into young tiger's gossip. At least to others, it's not attractive. Jiayan was not interested. He himself has so much luck that he is afraid of it. There is no way, people who have a family and a career cannot attract bees and butterflies. Buzz. He casually turned off the live broadcast screen in front of him, and he had a panoramic view of what Mr. Hu and Leda had done when they went to the war zone. There is a god-level person hiding behind but not taking any action. Are people from the White God level so cowardly? Jiayan rubbed his smooth, beardless chin. Of course he would not say that in his own house, there were actually two god-level people who had been urgently mobilized and were hiding in the dark waiting for an opportunity. It was unclear who was competing with the other. Anyway, he thought the white gods were quite useless. After all, in terms of the situation, it was their side that won the situation. The opponent lost a god-level person, and he only lost an invincible level 1. Of course, the lives of ordinary soldiers were also greatly lost, but that was a loss on another level. To put it bluntly, after this kind of war happened several times, Jiayan was no longer afraid of the white gods. They had many levels of gods, but due to the ebb and flow of one another, the gap between the two sides had been greatly smoothed out visibly to the naked eye. Well, I can't be too happy too early. The attitude of the white dolphins is still so calm, which shows that they must have enough backing to allow them to sit firmly on the Diaotai. Looking at the essence through the phenomenon, Jiayan is not the kind of self-satisfied he was after winning a few wars. He sees the big picture. This is the experience gained through countless battles. White Dolphin lost so much that he almost took off his pants, but he didn't go crazy, which shows that he still has enough foundation. And this background, if not right, is a terrifying backhand that can change the entire situation of the war. However, a win is a win. I can't not praise the heroes because of groundless speculation, right? After thinking for a while, Jia Yan stood up with a smile, and through his brain, issued a merit letter commending the two gods. If you don't praise such a great achievement, it will chill people's hearts. As the order was passed on, the entire Black Temple was filled with joy. What Jia Yan was watching was a real-time live broadcast, and the screen of this Black Temple was not as fast as his. Many people learned from Jia Yan's orders that the front line had achieved a complete victory, and even killed the enemy god-level ones. The laughter quickly spread throughout the Black Temple, and some people began to decorate with lights and take to the streets to revel. The soldiers and ordinary people at the bottom will naturally not think about the conspiracy of the white gods, and whether there is a deeper background. Allowing them to think about so many things is unfounded. The grand ceremony was carried out in a festive atmosphere, as if the victory of the Black God Department had been established after this battle. However, in contrast, the White God Department also reacted fiercely to this battle. Although they did not carry out the victory celebration, they also gained some advantages in claiming themselves. But who will win or lose, the person involved has the most authority. Anyway, the White God Department didn't say anything, and just sat and watched the cheering Black God Department's territory without responding at all. The Black and White factions are still in contact with each other. Even if they don't interact directly, through the business channels between the subordinate forces of both sides, the information from the opposite side can be spread throughout the entire White God faction in minutes. Therefore, comparing the two sides, everyone in the White God Department was immediately uneasy. Indeed, the Black God Department held a grand celebration, and the White God Department held some symbolic media publicity, which showed that they lacked confidence. In addition, information about the front line of the battlefield reached the ears of the White God family, and countless people were shocked like a bolt from the blue. In that battle, it is true that the Black God Department lost an invincible person, but the White God Department also sacrificed a god. Even if this god did not often appear in the public eye in the past, he was still a god. He was actually killed by the black gods like this. More and more people are having trouble sleeping and eating. The rule of the black gods is already quite unstable. After this matter spread, there are many people who are ready to take action. Even on the side of the black gods, there are gradually more ambassadors who were originally neutral but were forced to join the white gods. They come in the name of business and trade, but whether they really come for business or trade is a matter of opinion. We people in the starry sky have gone too far recently. There are crazy rumors everywhere about the so-called victory of the black god system over our white god system. This is simply distorting the facts. On a certain planet in the hinterland of the white god clan, several extremely emotional white god clan masters were patrolling with great indignation. The little girl who passed by these white god masters caught their attention. "Isn't this the little girl who sold you the spiritual weapon, sir?" The subordinates pointed at the roaring heaven-level master. "It's really her, is she the only one?" The man with a sly eyebrow but a public official looked at the little girl walking over, his face turned ferocious for a while. "Send one of you to keep an eye on her." The man looked at the weapon on his waist and suddenly had an idea. As a heaven-level expert in the white god system, he can be regarded as a good mid to low-level commander in a small city on this planet. But he knew that if the white god sect was really defeated, then a heaven-level person like him would definitely be recruited into the army, and who would let him eat from the public family. However, heaven-level masters are at the middle and lower levels in small planets. If they enter the main force of the white god system, they can only be regarded as small figures and small roles. Maybe after entering the battlefield, they will be treated like cannon fodder and die, just like a death squad. The possibility is great. He was unwilling to give in. "Sir, what do you want to do? That little girl is not easy to deal with." You don't need to remind me, I know what she is capable of. The so-called adult rolled his eyes at his subordinate, then looked at the direction the little girl left, and then at the inn where she lived. She is powerful. Is her sister powerful? Even if her sister also has a spiritual weapon for protection, will they also protect the room? To put it bluntly, the guest room has been protected by them. We are public servants. After hearing this, the close subordinate suddenly realized. After half a day. After spotting the time when the two little girls left the inn, the public figure led several subordinates and entered the inn in an above-board manner. Recently, the probability of black gods wandering around has been greatly increased. We have been ordered to investigate this inn. Don't tell me that the shop owner is unwilling to investigate for us. Check, can't I check it for you? The shopkeeper was unwilling at first, but when he saw the official seal and the official skin the other party was wearing, he immediately swallowed his anger. Recently, some people came to investigate, but they were all excused by the shopkeeper with various excuses. They came to Shiyuan because he knew that the public servants were just going through the motions, and besides, they must also know the capabilities of the two little girls. If you don't want to provoke me, you will probably turn a blind eye. I didn't expect to meet someone who is not afraid of death today. What else can I do? He is a member of the public, and to a large extent, he is almost an insider of the White God family. You can't go against the White God family. Clever. The leader smiled slightly and led everyone upstairs. Quickly, tell the two ladies so that they don't get hit. Ah! Shopkeeper, have you forgotten? The two girls went out this morning. It is said that they are going to a distant city and they haven't come back yet. This. The shopkeeper thought about something in an instant. He was stunned for a long time and his mouth was speechless. Then hurry up and go out to find the two ladies. I'm afraid they came to your door at this time on purpose. Damn it! Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2820. The shopkeeper sent the waiter out to search for the two little girls who were out. But he had no idea, because through these days of observation, he discovered that the little girls were not actually in the inn. Most of the time, they seemed to disappear into thin air, disappearing into thin air. He didn't care how they disappeared, as long as the two little girls were often away from the inn. It was normal for them to be away for 2 or 3 days. These two ladies have sold a large number of spiritual weapons recently, and no one knows the origin of it. There are rumors in the streets that they are just facades promoted by mysterious forces, and they have sold about 100,000 spiritual weapons through open or secret channels. There are more than 200 spiritual weapons, which exceeds the number of spiritual weapons on this planet, and even exceeds the number of spiritual weapons on several nearby planets. How can such a wealthy person be just a little girl? Even if there is a big force behind them, I would not be surprised. But those few public servants are stupid enough to cause trouble for them, and they are simply asking for their own death. The more he thought about it, the more frightened the shopkeeper became. There are not a few people who harbor evil intentions these days. Whether they are robbers with a lot of crimes or self-proclaimed righteous people who have gained a false reputation, they all come with the mentality of taking advantage of the situation. Without exception, they all suffered big losses from the two little girls. There are some exceptions for people from the public family. No matter how low their official position is, they are still considered public people. Who in the world dares not to give face to the Baishan family? No matter how powerful the force behind you is, it can't be bigger than the white gods. Even the black gods don't dare to make such bold claims. The shopkeeper complained endlessly, hoping that the waiter could find the two little girls. Click. Upstairs. The greedy man ordered the waiter who followed him to open the door of the guest room. They had the purpose of searching, and the waiter had no reason to refuse. Tisk, tisk. Everyone knows that this guest room is like a gate to hell. No one can break in easily. From my point of view, it's nothing serious. What is very strange is that when the public and family filed in, the traps originally scattered throughout the guest room were not activated. The man broke into the guest room and saw that the luxurious guest room of Noda was full of little girls' belongings. There are half-played toys, game consoles, various picture books, and cute pendants that only little girls would love. See if there are any signs of souls. Search them carefully for me. The man ordered his followers. Everyone dispersed in response and started searching the guest suite. I saw that the waiter who was following me was hesitant to speak, as if he was an ant on a hot pot. Head. Suddenly, a subordinate came to the public figure with a happy face and whispered a few words to him. The public servants also quickly became happy, looked at the waiter, and said coldly, "Sure enough, there are traces of souls. Just wait here as a mortal, and wait for a certain family to go and have a look in person." After saying that, he drew his standard weapon and entered the room that the follower had just searched. After a moment, the man's joyful exclamation and soon a muffled gasp came from the room. The waiter was sitting on pins and needles in the living room. He knew what the people inside were doing, but he had no way to stop him. After all, he didn't have a deep friendship with the two girls. He only upheld his professionalism and wanted to do his job well. But now the situation is stronger than people, and what he wants to do is impossible. He couldn't rush forward and risk his life to stop it. To put it bluntly, he didn't have the courage. Even if the public family was robbing his own property today, he wouldn't have the courage to stop it. Besides, it's not his thing. I just watched which rooms they went to. When the two ladies come back later, I will tell them that they can count what is missing. I hope the loss will not be too big. The waiter had resigned. Although he was quite frightened, he still fulfilled his obligation. He stood tremblingly in the middle of the hall, looking at the officials who turned into villains and walked around this room and that room. Hey, these two little bitches are playing games with us. Ling, cough, things are being thrown around. Several public servants almost lost their words. Looking at the bulging pockets they carried, it was obvious that they had found a lot of gains. The leading man's face became even redder, as if he was drunk, staring at everyone's pockets, for fear that someone might be a little greedy. They didn't dare to stay long. After all, no matter how stupid a person is, after gaining a lot, they should realize that those two are definitely not small rolls. After making such a big deal, if they stay here and encounter them, they may not be happy, but it's a human tragedy. We have investigated here. There should be no soul left. You can say less later. It is a public matter and confidentiality is important. Do you understand what I mean? The man came to the waiter and told him not to talk too much. The waiter looked at everyone carrying big and small bags. He didn't know what to say and could only nod mechanically. No matter, when things get to this point, it will definitely not be a trivial matter. Those two little girls are also very capable people. He plays a small role, so he should think about how to keep himself out of it. The public figures who had been wreaking havoc in the guest room for a few minutes seemed to have only been here for a moment, but they did a lot of things. The entire guest room was moved into the air like autumn leaves sweeping away leaves. Several people and entourage were moved fiercely, and they almost tried to take some of them. This seemingly expensive toy was stopped by the cold eyes of the leading man. They came here worried, but returned with a full load. They were all so happy that they almost skipped out of the inn. Shopkeeper, look at this, what should be done? The waiter watched these big and small bosses leave, and his whole body felt bad. Don't be impatient. The two young guests should handle this matter properly. If we get involved, we are just seeking death. Do you understand what I mean? I understand, it's just that they deceived people too much. The waiter had quite a sense of justice, but the shopkeeper rolled his eyes at him a few times and complained in his heart, "You boy, you want to express your opinions when gods fight. If you don't change your temper in the future, you won't know how to die." Of course, the psychological activities between the waiter and the shopkeeper are insignificant and irrelevant to outsiders. While they were talking, the little girls who jumped back arrived in front of the inn. The shopkeeper's expression changed much faster than any chameleon's. In the blink of an eye, he saw the little girls walking in, and in the next 0.03 seconds, he accurately changed into a mourning expression. As if he wished he could die of shame. Two guests. "It's not good. It's not good." He stumbled and rushed to the two little girls, wailing loudly as if he had been wronged. "As soon as you left the house, a government team entered your room and plundered your things. That group of officials just went too far. They actually packed up a lot of your things and left. We are a guest, and I will never give up, but they are officials, and we really can't stop them." The two little girls remained silent, as if they were not angry or understood the situation, and just walked up to the upper floor of the inn. The shopkeeper was sweating profusely and winked at the waiter. He didn't dare to follow and asked the waiter to follow him upstairs. Otherwise, it would be unlucky for the little girls to take it out on the people around them after seeing so many things lost, so he didn't follow. "Two young ladies, we are really at our wits' end. They are members of the public, and they are strong men. None of us is stronger than these members of the public. It goes without saying, we understand the situation." Entering the guest room, Jialin first waved expressionlessly. Edisha was surprised. Wow, they found it so cleanly. Fortunately, Edisha's toys were not taken away. The guys who followed looked at each other in confusion. Why didn't the two little girls look angry? Could it be that he was angry, but he was not angry at all? They didn't dare to say much for fear of getting burned. "Why are you still standing there? Go out, we need to rest." Jialin looked at the dumbfounded waiters angrily, causing them to tremble, confessed one after another, and then exited the room. They are confused. These two lost something, but why didn't they react at all? It was so different from their previous behavior patterns of throwing experts. "Edisha, you really can't act. You should have been angry just now." Edisha was holding a big doll and was scolded by Jialin. The two looked at each other and laughed. Edisha really doesn't care about the things that are thrown away. If they want it, just give it to them. Edisha had a great time playing with the doll. If this doll was lost today, Edisha might be angry. Okay, thanks to us deliberately creating an opportunity for them, now we have finally got rid of all the spiritual weapons. Let's leave this planet tomorrow. Yeah, next time I use Edisha's new method, I will give away all these spiritual weapons. Don't want money? I feel like not wanting money will attract more attention. Yes, but not so much. I have wasted so many days here. Wouldn't it be more wasted in the future? Why don't we be more stupid? Anyway, the war between gods has already started. Will the white god system notice us in the future? Not necessarily. Yes, then I'll listen to you. The two little girls were smiling like flowers, as if nothing had happened, and they were having a great time playing in the living room and room. The waiter who had been eavesdropping outside the door for a long time felt reassured and hurriedly slipped downstairs and reported to the shopkeeper. "I thought that this matter would be over." The shopkeeper and the others didn't know how much the little girls had lost. In short, he believed that after today's accident, the little girls would still live in his inn, adding to the popularity of their inn. However, what gave him a wake-up call was that in the early morning of the next day, the waitress with room service went upstairs to clean the room. She was shocked to find that in addition to leaving a lot of accommodation fees in the room, the two little girls went upstairs. Null. At this time, the shopkeeper was shocked and relieved. That's right, something like this has happened. If the two girls are still staying in the inn, they are asking for trouble. They must either take revenge or leave the city that does not welcome them. Shopkeeper, do we need to change our signboard? Change? In other words, we are the biggest witnesses that they have been here. They have become legends in the city. Let us let the city continue to remember them. The shopkeeper spoke eloquently, but he couldn't hide the rich taste of gold and silver behind it. The girls left, which means that those who want to explore their secrets and stories can only come to the inn to search. Wouldn't this make this inn stay funny and live happily for a long time? Naturally, the shopkeeper, who is like a refined person, would not miss such an opportunity. However, he didn't know that he thought the little girls left out of anger, but they didn't take it seriously at all. At least don't take those so-called spiritual weapons seriously. In the cracks in the starry sky, there is an interlayer between normal space and the source of black energy. The mezzanine is somewhat similar to the subspace of the outside world, but the principles are quite different. Most of them use black energy, which is the dark power from Jiayan. Therefore, people in the black god system can use this power to move quickly. I really hope that one day I can move like this by myself. I have to take you with me every time I go out to play. It's quite tiring. Jialin changed her image of a big sister in the minds of people in the city and sat cross-legged in the space without any image, a little unscrupulously. Hey, should you take me or should I take you? Adisha is unhappy and wants to leave you. Adisha was furious. The two parties were inseparable. It was hard to tell who was playing with whom. However, Jialin kept taking advantage of her in this kind of thing, and Adisa couldn't stand it anymore. Okay, if you take care of me, I won't argue with you. Jialin put on an attitude of I am my sister and I won't argue with you, which made Adisha almost go berserk again. The two of them were used to fighting and fussing. Don't talk about this, Adisha, what we did, do you think it will work? This is your own plan. If it doesn't work, my brother will definitely look down on us in the future. Jialin changed the topic to avoid arguing with Adisha in this black crack, otherwise she would throw herself out and she would cry to death. Adisha rolled her eyes at her. After all, Adisha, who was as smart as ice and snow, didn't know what Jialin was thinking. Of course Adisha thinks it's useful, do you think it's useless? I didn't say it was useful, but your method is so simple, just sell the spiritual weapon with that kind of thing. Are the people from the White God department so stupid that they don't even check it? Everyone treats these things like treasures, but who is willing to check the White God system? Are you stupid? Jialin suddenly felt a little red and asked Jiyuan to lift the table. She was most angry when others said she was stupid, especially when Adisa said she was stupid, because Adisa was much younger than her. Of course I know, but there are always surprises. If someone within the White God department obtained the spiritual weapon we gave out, and then handed it over to a White God for inspection, wouldn't it be exposed all of a sudden? No way, is Adisha's design that simple? Don't underestimate me, okay? Well, when it came to this, Jialin wisely kept silent. Because judging from the direction of her words, she would definitely face more verbal criticism from Adita, but she would definitely be the loser. So she doesn't humiliate herself. Then give it a try. I don't believe it anymore. Her plan is so perfect, Jialin felt itchy with hatred. She was unhappy that she kept losing to Adisha. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2821. The enchanting and colorful woman walked quietly in the chaos. What's strange is that the environment around her is completely blank, as white as pure without a trace of pollution. And she is flying in this spotless land, but it does not affect the pure scenery around her. On the contrary, because of her graceful appearance, she has carved a strong mark on this everlasting monotonous space. Where do you want to go? Suddenly, a faint shadow appeared in front of this beautiful woman. The shadow appeared, and it turned out to be another tall, beautiful woman with almond-shaped eyes and rosy cheeks. So it's you. Where am I going and what am I doing to you? The woman who was like a beauty in the world moved her eyebrows and shouted softly. I shouldn't have to worry about where you want to go, but you're going in the wrong direction. Later, the woman was bored and looked at the direction ahead. In addition to the same white color, that area was actually invaded by wisps of black. It seemed that if she continued walking forward, she would reach a completely dark space. I said, you have no control over where I go. I don't want to care about it, but I don't care if you are his wife in name only. You like him so much, why don't you get back together with him? If you don't get back together, you still have to worry about me. What does this mean? Do you really not understand or do you pretend not to understand? After so many years, no man and woman can be together forever. Now I am just his loyal subordinate. The two were at loggerheads and had constant conflicts. Seeing that she couldn't get what she wanted, the woman who was walking forward didn't worry about it. She swung her clothes and skirts and turned back towards the back. Seeing her surrender, the girl with a peach-cheeked face showed a slight smile and followed closely behind. The two stepped through the long white torrent, and actually took one step forward, appearing in a certain six-pointed star magic circle shining with pure white color. Near the magic circle, a young man has been waiting for a long time. When he saw the beautiful woman walking out of the white space, he just glanced at her coldly, and then walked in the other direction calmly, as if he hadn't seen the scene in front of him. Don't be stupid. How can he not know about your affairs? The peach-cheeked girl who followed the enchanting woman sighed beside her, and left with a graceful figure. After a moment of silence, the beautiful woman also sighed, and then Pingting Niana walked in the direction of the young man. Do you know when I realized something was wrong with you? The young man turned his back to the charming woman and asked with mixed emotions. Maybe you didn't believe me from the beginning. The charming girl followed him and responded calmly. You also know that I don't believe you, so why do you still do things that make me sorry? Let me ask you, I have been treating you well these days, right? The young man turned back indifferently, his eyes coldly looking at the woman's face. The woman didn't show any fear and scolded her directly. I didn't say you were not good to me, but I made it clear to you from the beginning. It was just an occasion for cooperation between you and me. The right to cooperate is mine. If you don't want to cooperate, I can withdraw from cooperation at any time, or do you really think that I am yours if I cooperate with you? I do understand that you and I are actually the same kind of people, who only care about their own ends and use any means. You will never fall in love with someone else. The young man paused and asked with complex eyes, are you sure that I won't fall in love with someone else? Ha, what about you? Since you are the same kind of person as me, you can't be so infatuated with him, right? A happy look bloomed on the woman's delicate features. No, I said that you and I are the same kind of people. What I mean is that you and I are the same, and we will do whatever it takes to achieve our goals, but my goal is often just feelings, while you do it for strength and rights. We are still fundamentally different. No matter what, if you say such a thing in front of your husband, do you think I will let you go? The woman showed the pity-like look of Xiajiabiu. She could switch between beauty and purity with ease, which even the top stars could not match. Husband, you won't really do something to me, will you? Besides, in this world now, there is no point in doing something to me. Besides, even if you go to the outside world, it is easy to do something to me. I am just a domain lord. It's just my existence, but you have to think clearly about the consequences of doing something to me. If an ordinary person said such words, young people would just sneer at them. However, It was a woman who said this, so he couldn't help but calm down. The woman sneered, as if she already knew that the young man was like this. To put it bluntly, you are just a coward. Okay, now I have to go back. If you don't let me go to see him, then I won't go. There will be more opportunities in the future. You should think more clearly and say yes. Husband and wife, are they so important to us and other existences, whether they are husband or wife? I'm afraid you can't even remember how many couples we have in our lifetimes. The woman was in full bloom, twisted her waist and left. Only the young man was behind him, clenching his fists again and again, and finally his expression returned to normal. Yes, as the woman said, he is not the kind of person who is trapped by love and does not even hesitate to make impulsive actions. But Jia Yan, who seemed to be fighting only for strength, was different. In his life, he had too many moments of being impulsive and trapped by love. To be calm, Jia Yan should be one of the least calm territory lords. Lord Baigamai, several gods are waiting for you to hold a meeting in the main hall. Suddenly, an attendant wearing pure white divine attire came to him and addressed him respectfully. I know, I'll be there right away. The young man had recovered as before, showing a sunny smile, and followed the attendants to the meeting place. Yes, he is actually the famous white god, one of the creator gods of this world. Maybe the countless people who believe in him don't know that this young man is not only a henpecked person, but also a coward. The secret confrontation between the supreme god of the white god department and the supreme mother goddess is simply not enough for outsiders to understand. It's just that the various consequences it caused are not as subtle as what we see today. It may take time before they are revealed. To put it bluntly, the affairs of the white god department are far away from the black god department. No matter how powerful Jia Yan is, it is difficult for him to know the inside story. He just focused his mind and body on doing many things. Don't think that just because the black gods won the first divine war and gained a lot of fame, they can rest easy. There are too many things that require Jia Yan to do personally, and the number is increasing day by day. This is also inevitable after the stall is spread. Jia Yan discovered that this is how power is formed. At the beginning of each power phase, he was not so tired because anyone could be told to do anything. But when the business started to spread, he would do certain things personally from the beginning, and he would acquiesce in the future. It has become his job, and as time goes by, there will be more and more of this kind of thing, one by one piled up, and later he finds that there is no turning back, and he has to die at his desk from exhaustion. I can't do it anymore. It's made me mentally exhausted. When I go out in the future, I will definitely carry out the matter of handing over the boss, and I will definitely not develop a big power, because that is looking for sin. What happens next will be discussed later. Now Jia Yan has to get things done. Adisha, come and help me. After thinking about it, Jia Yan pushed nearly half of the remaining documents forward, and saw a little blonde girl sitting opposite, with her hands on the opposite side of the desk and her bare feet dangling. If Adisha doesn't do it, it's the master's job. Adisha did not accept his trick. She said that she was no longer the gullible 5-year-old girl she used to be. She was already over 6 years old. Okay then, tell me, you don't help the master with his work, and you come to disturb me when I'm so busy, just for fun. Jia Yan was a little helpless. It was like this now. How would he direct her to work when she went out? Adisa smiled sweetly, and mysteriously took out a few documents, with Adisa's plan report clearly written on them. Jia Yan raised his eyebrows and took the plan with some surprise. You must know that as early as the white gods began to intervene in the war between the two sides, it was difficult to consider the war from the computer-deduced characters who created the world, and Aditha's role became smaller and smaller. All major wars are arranged by Bai Shen personally, and their uncertainty is not something that Adisha can calculate. As for the small war, it was not Adisa's turn to appear. This has caused Edisha to be idle lately. She has nothing to do every day. Apart from running to the core planet of the White God system with Jialin to be spies and executing certain plans, she just sits around in this department and sits in that department. Of course, she sits out. Whether that department is in turmoil or not is none of the little Yama's business. I didn't expect that my idea would come to Jia Yan today. Jia Yan picked up her plan with some surprise. After looking at it for a moment, he couldn't help but look at the little guy in shock. He felt a little shuddering in his heart. This little guy's computing power is still so amazing. Are you sure that all the spiritual weapons you sold have fallen into the hands of the people you selected? Yes, Edisha is sure. Their personalities will grab those spiritual weapons. Even if there is an accident, Edisha will use her mental power to reverse their thinking. After listening to Edisha's explanation, Jia Yan couldn't help laughing. This little guy thought that she and Jialin's plan was all he thought about, but he didn't expect that he actually thought about it much deeper than himself. There is no way, who makes her smart? If you think she only thinks about 2 moves, maybe she has already thought about hundreds of moves in her mind. Just follow your plan, but you have to make sure that the battle you plan unfolds as you wish. Otherwise, the losses will be too great, and I may interrupt your plan at any time. Okay, then Aditha will continue with her mission. Bye-bye, Master. Adisha was in high spirits, jumped down from the chair quickly, and left the door in a flash with her head no higher than the table. The next moment, the black space tore apart, and she returned to the underworld. I didn't teach her to become this kind of girl with such a fiery temper. Jia Yan was helpless. Adisha was destined to be beaten, and scolding might not be as good as hers. Fortunately, she had a strong belief in her bones that she was a computer and Jia Yan was the master. Otherwise, no one would dare to leave the matter to her. Do it, afraid that she will betray herself by weighing the pros and cons. However, you don't have to trust people when you employ people. Even Adisha, who you get along with every day, doesn't believe it. Jia Yan is afraid that no one can be trusted in this life. It's a pity to let her do what she wants. It's a pity that my black dog clone is gone. They went to the starry sky, and this dog clone has to fly in the starry sky with a dog body. It can't be treated as an ordinary dog. Jia Yan smiled. In fact, he had some doubts. Adisha was not doing nothing these past 2 days, but she saw that she was a little tired, so she used her maximum presence to stay with him. Shaking his head, Jia Yan threw these thoughts away. Thinking about it again, I overbeautified this little guy, and she would be in trouble. I don't expect or deny whether there is anything good for her. I just need to do my job well. Jia Yan picked up the information again, and after some crosses from Edisha, he really regained his energy and was able to read the information again. I can still forgive those forces that help the tyranny, but they are always a factor of instability. In the areas under the jurisdiction of the Black God Department, some areas even have an uncertain sense of identity. Although they are recognized as subordinate forces of ours on the surface, they are only superficially working. When there are serious needs, they will hesitate or even refuse. The same goes for the White God Department. In this way, these places are not only a crisis for the White Gods, but also a crisis for us. How to deal with them depends on our ability. Killing is easy, but now that the first divine war has broken out, it is difficult to say that the White God Department will not take the next step of revenge. It would be unwise to allocate our strength to deal with those wallflowers. After all, even if there are too many of them, they can stumble someone. Send envoys there. Since the White Gods can send envoys everywhere, why can't I, the Black Gods? Jia Yan waved his hand and gave the next order directly. Most of these envoys are at the venerable level, or no more than the starry sky level, because the Black God forces really can't spare any manpower. It's just that among the envoys, there are a few more Black God clones mixed in. There are so many messy planets that Jia Yan wants to see in person, not only because he wants to fulfill his will to conquer the world, but also because he needs to understand the origin of the world, and because he wants to satisfy his strong personal interest in seeing more humanities. Don't tell me. You have seen Jia Yan running around all over the galaxy. You still don't know that Jia Yan is an ambitious man who likes to run around. If Jia Yan hadn't been attracted by the path of becoming a strong man, which was more attractive to him, maybe he would have become a full-time traveler, traveling across thousands of mountains and rivers in the galaxy, and enjoying the endless planets and mountains and rivers. However, even if the Milky Way is hundreds of billions times larger than this place, due to the limitations of the basic energy of the universe, it cannot be like this world, with all kinds of strange species and various cultivation methods, let alone the original influence in a simple world. Next, more peculiar customs will emerge. It can be said that if you miss this place, if you want to see it again next time, you won't be able to find a place like this. Therefore, Jia Yan spared his energy from his busy schedule to release his avatar, not only to take some time off from his busy schedule, but also to satisfy his desire to travel. Life in the world of creation was getting better and better, but he discovered that maybe the time to leave was not far away. So cherish it even more. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 2822. Magnificent. This is the world of martial arts. Above the world of martial arts, there is another super master, which is roughly equivalent to the level of the venerable in the outside world. The venerable level is already at the pinnacle of this world, and exists as if it were the pinnacle. It is rare in number, and due to the prevalence of martial arts, several top masters here are called the three martial arts. As the name suggests, there are only three people in the three heroes. The three great masters are not too weak compared to other planets in the outside world. However, this place sits in the city of sleepiness, does not communicate with the outside world, and even dismisses the so-called creation god's rhetoric. Until one of the three heroes went to Huangxiu Mountain to discuss martial arts with an outsider master, and was defeated in 3 moves. At this point, the world was shocked, and everyone knew how strong the outsiders were. There are some who are eager to meet outsiders, and there are also many who are frightened. There are also some who preach openness and honesty, sit down and have a good talk with outsiders, and negotiate easy terms. All in all, it was confusing. After several martial arts conferences, the matter could not be negotiated and a charter was reached. Instead, several famous martial arts figures died inexplicably on the road due to enemies or various deeds. Now, no one wants to attend the so-called conference. Things became a stalemate, and not long after, Yona defeated the so-called enemy force of the three heroes, and arrived on the planet at some unknown time. They promote themselves as the Black Gods. There are 2 creator gods in this world, black and white. The world was created by them. The power of everyone's cultivation also comes from these 2 gods with boundless power. Now the 2 creator gods have awakened and want to fight for the only creator god in this world. Status requires all major planets to take sides. The leaders of the forces commanded by the Black Gods were stunned when they heard these remarks. They have heard of the God of creation, but they have never heard of a Black God. What's even more exaggerated is that the power of their cultivation actually comes from the 2 creation gods. What a great power that is! In short, because the conference could not be held and the 3 heroes remained silent, the martial arts planet has fallen into a state of leaderlessness. Everyone has different opinions. However, no matter how they talk and spread the rumors, there is no way to draw a conclusion. They were driven to death by an external force, and there was another so-called hostile force. They didn't look weak and could be bullied, so what could they do? Today, the messengers of the black and white systems have gradually moved from the darkness to the light, and more people have come to the planet, and a storm is about to come. On a sunny day, the sea was rough. Suddenly, a black crack opened, and several people wearing black robes walked out of it. While the fishermen on the shore were frightened, they came to the pier through the air. This star is a top priority recently. After the last Divine War, this place has changed from an insignificant place to one close to the front line. You all understand your mission. You must use the highest efficiency and fastest speed to destroy the star. To capture the star, it is best to fight without bloodshed. I'll understand later. Several people in black robes, led by the leading man, shouted and took orders. As the leading man waved, everyone went their separate ways. Even the leader quickly melted into the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Only a group of trembling fishermen remained at the scene, feeling uneasy. Among the several black-robed figures leaving, there was one who was about 20 years old, with a rough face and a fleshy face. He is one of Jia Yan's avatars on this trip. Except for himself, no one on this mission knew his true identity. After all, traveling with the Black God clone, even the leader would be too nervous to complete the mission. For Jia Yan, this was a bit counterproductive. Sure enough, I can feel a few faint auras of the white gods. They also came with a lot of people. However, this place cannot be said to be an absolute front line, so neither side attaches much importance to it. The visitors are not strong, and they have not arrived. The option to use force. After a moment of realization, Jia Yan continued to fly in the direction of his mission like an ordinary messenger of the Black God system. Although the black and white gods are unparalleled in domination and are considered rampant in this world, the more critical moments of the war, the more they tolerate small forces. Otherwise, if they cause a murder, other swing forces will definitely be disappointed and fall to the other side. This matter, but there is precedent. That's why the white gods couldn't capture this star for a long time. The black gods saw the opportunity and sent many envoys from the gods to come here to recruit surrender. A small city, it was an ordinary county-level city under the rule of Taiguo. The so-called envoys are here again. County magistrate, do you think we are going to drive them out? No need to be like this, treat them politely. You don't know how capable these guys are. Under the big words justice and integrity hanging high in the mirror, the county magistrate was a little frightened. In the past few days, I had seen several so-called white god envoys, and then there were black god envoys who came secretly, saying that permanent envoys would be dispatched to hand over to me in the next 2 days, and both sides made suggestions to him. And, the information between them needs to be kept secret by the county magistrate, otherwise his safety will endanger his family and cannot be guaranteed. Only today did the county magistrate know what ordinary people call unfounded worries. He has been thinking about the so-called gods issue day and night these days, and he has also been studying ancient books over and over, as if he wants to find some evidence to prove the deeds of the black and white gods. But all empty heads only increase worries. If they were just a group of theological nonsense, that would be fine. However, with his internal intelligence network, he knew that this group of people was not simple. Even the so-called white gods had defeated the 3 heroes of this world, that is, just like being treated as a state guest by various countries, like a godlike character. It's hard. If it were an ordinary magic stick, the county magistrate wouldn't have to worry so much, but this group of people is different. A few days ago, people wearing white robes have moved into our county. Today, there may be another one wearing black robes. If the 2 sides start fighting, it's up to me what to do. While muttering, the county magistrate saw the Yaman guard running outside the door, stumbling and shouting, "County magistrate, here he is, wearing a black robe. Don't panic, let people come in." The county magistrate quickly calmed down his confusion. He knew that newcomers would always play some novel tricks on him, such as coercion and inducement. He had received instructions from the Holy Emperor to officials from all over the country, that is, not to interact with these priests. Be against it, but you can't give in. In short, you can delay it as long as you can. After a while, 5 men in thick black robes entered the county government hall, following the government servants who were walking on thin ice. I've met the county magistrate. No need to be polite. The man looked rough, but he was polite and bowed to the county magistrate symbolically. The Japanese envoy came here today to complete the order given by the summit, and to discuss with the county magistrate the cooperation between your county and our Black Temple. I wonder if the magistrate is ready. I'm naturally prepared, but this matter is quite troublesome. We might as well sit down and discuss it in the long run. Otherwise, I won't be able to do it well in a short while. What? Your Majesty the county magistrate, are you violating the order of my black god line? No, but what the envoy doesn't understand is that under this county, there is a concentration of famous green forest heroes in Taiguo. Not to mention several big bandits, there are also many sections. If you want to say which county in Taiguo has this prefecture, I'm afraid I can't pick a second one for general affairs, so what you mentioned really takes time to do well. Oh? Green forest gangsters and martial arts sects? How about this, Lord County Magistrate, please tell me directly which factions are more troublesome. The man in black robe with a strong back and strong waist seemed to be the presence of an old god. He was not in a hurry and said calmly. It's like this. Among the forces in this county, the most troublesome ones are the gangsters. They have been entrenched in Greenwater Beach for a long time. Recently, I heard that they have entangled more than 1,000 gangsters, plus gang members, etc. They are known as 30,000 minions. Yes, this county and even the whole country are in great harm. If you want to say who is the least willing to do what Kishin said, this Greenwater Beach bandit is the first to bear the brunt. The county magistrate's eyes were rolling as he spoke eloquently. Obviously what he told was untrue, but with the cautious temperament of such a scholar, he would never say anything too contrary to the truth. At most, he would just change the concept and add fuel to the fire. Anything else? The expression of the man below him remained unchanged, as if he didn't even notice a number like 10,000. The county magistrate's heart continued to beat slightly, and the gentle and jade-like smile on his face grew brighter. He lowered his head and thought for a moment before saying, "That's it? There are several villas that are both good and evil, Taoist sects, and several that use poison or gangs, etc. are raging in this county. Your Excellency, our messenger, we can list the details. You can take a look at them in the past 2 days. I believe that by then, you will understand how difficult it is for this county magistrate to do his job." 2 days. No, I'll give you an hour to write it and leave it to me directly. The tall, strong man in black robe did not retreat at all, and his style was businesslike. Okay, I'll let Lord Bo write it quickly. However, there will always be some omissions in the description in a hurry. Please bear with me, Your Majesty the envoy. It's easy to say. You should also go and assist the master. This envoy is waiting to watch. Yes. The county magistrate stepped down from his official chair, probably already cursing in his heart. After being the county magistrate for so many years, this was probably the first time he encountered someone so bossy in the lobby. He almost couldn't hold back his anger. However, the situation is stronger than the people. Even the emperor gave up the use of force to fight out of fear. What can he, a mere county magistrate, do? I have to say that these literati still have potential if they are pushed hard. In an hour, no more, no less, the general arrived before the scheduled time. The county magistrate with a tired face walked out of the back hall in person and handed a stack of paper that smelled of pen and ink into the hands of the man in black robe. "Thank you for your honor, Your Excellency. Are you satisfied with this? If there is anything missing, you can come back." The magistrate's words were swallowed directly in his throat midway through his words. After the man took the paper in his hand, he turned his hands randomly and scanned them one by one. In half a sentence, he had already read most of it. The magistrate swallowed the rest of his words, and a certain term almost blurted out from the bottom of his heart. Instant memory. He has seen journalists from UBM and broadcasting. There are heroes from all walks of life who took the imperial examination, and those who are good journalists are like crucian carp crossing the river. But compared to this, that's nothing. This is already a photographic memory. But do you really remember it? Puff. With doubts in his mind, the strong man closed the paper. Thank you for the information you provided. This matter has been of great help to me. I'll take my leave for now. I'll take you outside. The county magistrate only felt that this strong man acted in a fickle manner, but he did not doubt his presence. After sending people away, I hadn't seen enough of the strong man's burly back. I saw the master behind him whisper, "County master, he didn't take away the information we wrote. Is he afraid?" Nonsense. The county magistrate looked at the master with a dead look on his face. No wonder you can't even pass the examination as a scholar. This person is very important. He didn't take away the information, but those things are already with him. As he spoke, the magistrate nodded his head and almost took off his black gauze hat. Ah! He actually memorized it all? I was looking at it just now, and he didn't even read it for half a quarter of an hour. So, I'm afraid these men in black robes really have some skills. Go back to the hall. This matter has nothing to do with us. It just depends on what he will do. I think even if the men in black robes have all kinds of means, they can't deal with these Taiguo. Those who have headaches will also spend a lot of time, so this will buy us time. The county magistrate still has some brains, otherwise he would not be able to get the job of county magistrate. Moreover, it is a county with heavy bandits that even the Holy Emperor values so much. He can achieve such a gradual improvement in people's livelihood today, and he is definitely not a fool. Maybe it won't be long before he gets it. Your Majesty, Ranjan, has been promoted to the top of the Beijing temple. Of course, the issue between the black-robed forces and the white-robed forces must be settled first, otherwise everything will be in vain. Report, sir, the white-robed forces are here again. Let them come in. Hearing that the white-robed forces had also come to his county office, the county magistrate felt as if he was mourning his heir. Are you sick? You are black and white. I think you are not aliens who are here to fight for power. You are here to play tricks on us petty officials. But no matter how much the county magistrate slanders, he didn't dare to have an attack, so he had to go to the county office to meet the white-robed messenger who was coming. Not to mention whether the white-robed envoy came to spy on the information because he saw the black-robed envoy. Just talk about the strong man in black robe. That is Jia Yan. He is now chewing on the information he just obtained and flying towards the green water beach. He never thought that he would slowly develop affairs in this small county government, and then work together with other black-robed messengers to capture the entire planet without bloodshed. The so-called war without bloodshed is also an abstract term. If it does not kill 1/10 of the population of the entire planet, it is considered mild. Only if it exceeds that value can it trigger a backlash from other planetary forces. So just a green water beach, tens of thousands of people. It doesn't matter if they are all killed, not to mention that they are bandits and they slaughter a mountain of corpses and blood in the name of officialdom. Who can say that they are wrong? The time limit I set for myself is 1 day. After 1 day, this county must be captured. This is the strict deadline Jia Yan has set for himself. In fact, this is not because he is too arrogant, nor does he think he is very powerful. Although he is indeed much more powerful than ordinary black-robed messengers, they are not covered by professionals. At least in terms of tasks, they are not much weaker than himself. Please remember the first domain name of this book.